Dragon SFO? Doesn't he have perms to join?
How good you've got. You've got it so good, you don't know how good you've got it. And if you can't see that, the problem is you.
Damn.
So stop complaining.
Whoa!
You little whiner. Get to work.
Is he doing an impression of, like, the establishment or something?
Retirement? What? That's for ungrateful people. Get back to work. Eat your Del Taco. They're only $4.50. Your parents would have been grateful for a $4.50 Del Taco. Getting out after 18 hours in the spinning mill. They were only 9 years old. They didn't have Del Taco then. So you've...
Time. This is cool stuff. It's a good time to be a Democrat. This is...
Okay. Why stop? Fuck you.
It comes to, and I think this is the case for literally homophobia, racism, like all of these things, is going to be like outcomes based, right? It is going to be about like whether or not it ends up harming a community. Generally, the actions, like if we're talking about like a verb, it's going to be like.
I have no idea what you're saying right there. Mm-hmm. You're saying anti-Semitism is going to be outcomes based. What do you mean by that? You're saying definitionally it is?
So that's what I'm explaining right now. Is that like if we're talking about a verb, it's going to be like just some sort of like disproportionate bias or a discrimination, unfair discrimination or unfair bias towards a group of people. But whether or not that bias matters or that discrimination matters is normally going to be based on like a harm that's actually caused to that group of people or a likely harm that would be caused.
Really?
Yes.
So if you knew someone was racist, but you knew it, right? Like you knew that someone had a prejudice against black people who thought that black people were all scum and criminals, but they never acted on it and they kept to themselves. They never did anything racist in terms of actually discriminating against people and actually, not allowing them into the shop, whatever. Would you condemn his racist belief? Yes or no?
The belief, I mean, if he's expressing this to me, yeah, probably.
Yeah. So it isn't just about outcomes, right?
That it's because I believe that the
No. This example is almost like inconceivable because what if somebody had racist beliefs but never acted on them? What does it mean to have racist beliefs at that point? And why would you have racist beliefs that you wouldn't act on? Like, let's say you had a racist belief that black people legitimately were like all thieves, and then a black guy came in your house, but you never took more precautions against the black person than you would like a white person. Why wouldn't you? Like, do you even have the belief at that point? Like, if your belief becomes disconnected from any action? Or I guess maybe you could think, I think they are more likely to steal, but I'm willing to let him steal from me. But I feel like this, I feel like it's a very, very, very difficult thing to consider. Like, I don't know if this is a good, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Belief is likely to lead to those outcomes. It's likely to
okay, true.
lead to those actions.
No, it's not just that. If you knew someone was privately racist, even if it didn't affect anything, we condemn beliefs all the time. We think that they're immoral
yes,
things.
Because they are likely to lead to those outcomes. Why?
We don't condemn the beliefs. Pisco's saying we condemn beliefs all the time, even if they lead to absolutely no outcomes. I'm pretty sure the reason why we're generally critical of the beliefs is because they almost always do lead to bad outcomes. I don't understand what that means. We just don't want people to be racist, but we don't actually think it has any impact in the real world? What?
Because they are likely to lead to those outcomes. Why?
We just do it. That's what people do. Like if people have horrible beliefs, let's say you knew someone was, fetishized cannibalism or someone.
What?
For example, the best case of this is schmetophilia, right? You would condemn that belief, that disposition.
Schmetophilia? Or was he just trying to say pedophilia? What?
Yes, but why?
Because you think it's a bad belief to have. Not just necessarily because of the outcome. Because you don't like it, right?
No,
yes,
because it's likely to lead to a negative outcome.
Even if you knew it wasn't, right? So you would say that you're indifferent to a schmetophile, even if you know it's not likely.
Because they say because if they say pedophile, it gets censored. What?
If this person can't offend, even if this person is in no position to be able to offend, you wouldn't condemn that view? You wouldn't condemn that disposition?
No.
Would we care? Let's say that you were dropped on an island and it was 50 males who were 25 and older, and there were never going to be any women. You just had to survive as long as you could. But like one of the guys was a pedophile. But they're on an island. There's no kids ever. Like what?
No, if I knew for sure that was the case, no, of course not. The only reason that I would condemn it is because I think those things, or those beliefs and those biases are likely to lead to different actions, and those actions are going to negatively affect other people.
Really?
Yeah, not clip farming, by the way. Not clip farming here, by the way.
You never say that belief by itself is monstrous? Like, say that someone like really, they admire Hitler. But you just know that this person is like, let's say that they're 90 years old, they admire Hitler, they have a bunch of Hitler paraphernalia, they don't spread their belief, they just have it, and you found out that that person had that belief, and you also simultaneously knew that he would never act on it or express it to anyone other than you, would you think less of that person?
If I knew that they would...
It's just so weird to define a belief that never expresses itself in any action ever. Like, it's just a very strange world where we have to totally disconnect our beliefs from our actions. Like, it's almost inconceivable that a belief wouldn't manifest in some way in your life. Like, it's just very, very difficult to contemplate.
Would never act on it or anything. I mean, like, intuitively, yes, but only because I believe that they are going to act on it. But if you're telling me that I know for a fact that they wouldn't act on it, no, I don't. Yeah, I think that, like, only because I am trained to believe that those beliefs lead to negative outcomes is the only bias that I would have against that thing. But if somehow I knew for a fact that there was no way that that was going to happen, then yeah, there's no reason to be, because normally when I think something is bad, or if I think it's immoral, or if I think it's wrong, I think that because of negative outcomes that are going to come from it. Do you disagree with that?
I disagree. I think that people are disgusted by, I think certain beliefs are just bad to have, irrespective sometimes even of the outcomes. I think that there's and I certainly think that certain beliefs are bad to have. That's one of the even if you can't control it, right? Like I'm kind of like a determinist in many respects, where I don't believe in libertarian free will, and so yeah, I do think that certain belief states are bad, independent of what.
But what does that mean that it's bad?
It means non-desirable.
What? No.
That's it. Just non-desirable. Just it's bad because it's non-desirable.
It shouldn't occur. You shouldn't have that thought. That belief shouldn't exist. Ought not occur.
Yes, but
that's Thomas navigating this well. You have to be careful when you say bad, because it's pretty hard, unless you want to get into some kind of like theological belief or something, it's pretty hard to do a bad thing that's not connected somehow to some form of harm, right? And when we talk about beliefs, we talk about internal mental states. If they don't manifest in the external world ever, are we really saying it's a bad thing to have a thought? Like, I think that all forms of unjustified violence are bad. But I'm thinking right now, I'm thinking a thought of unjustified violence right now. Was that a bad thought if it never manifests in any kind of like physical action? I don't think most people would subscribe to that. I think that Tom is correct in that people would say, well, even if you have the thought and you didn't act on it, it's still bad. But I think Tom is correct in saying the reason why people would say that is because they're intuiting that the bad thoughts will eventually lead to the bad actions.
It shouldn't occur. You shouldn't have that thought. That belief shouldn't exist. Ought not occur.
Yes, but
that's
what
what I
does
think bad to be.
shouldn't? Yeah, but when you say shouldn't or ought not,
that should normatively.
I would
yes,
think
it's a normative conversation.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is when you say shouldn't or ought not, normally, like I feel like when we say those terms, when we say that, we mean that like you ought not do something or you shouldn't do it or it's bad because
it'll lead to
some sort of negative consequence.
Not always. Not always.
Give an example.
Not always.
Can you give me an example where that is not likely the case?
He's going to say, what if you're a racist and you have that belief, a strong racist belief, but you never act on it? It's just so weird to have beliefs that you don't act on in any way. I don't know. That's just a strange...
Yeah. So, like, if someone has a, they just are, they fetishize, like, eating people, and you know that they're not apt to do anything else, you would think that's a bad belief to have.
Is it? What is the belief here that like you would enjoy eating humans? Like you're a cannibal? You believe you're a cannibal, but you would never act on it. Or, like it's definitely a weird belief. I'm sure there are some people maybe that would say it's bad, but I mean like, or not bad, but like, no, some people probably would just say bad, but they would imagine you eating humans, right? Which is bad, generally without their consent, because most humans don't want to be eaten. But if you literally never act on it, right? I don't know. That it's such a weird thing to entertain.
Again, what I'm saying, an example where that's not likely the case. If somebody has a fetish for eating people, it is likely that they do want to eat people. That they
no.
Yes,
I'm not denying that. That fetishization means that they would want to, independent of other considerations, but you just know they won't actualize it. But I don't understand why.
Yes, I understand. But I'm saying. Because I'm saying that is the reason. No, I'm not. I'm saying that the reason that we would say it's bad is only because it is likely to lead to negative outcomes.
I wouldn't say necessarily only, but it's like a 95%. I'm sure there are some thoughts that maybe people could say are so... No, actually, I don't know if there are. I'm not sure. Now I'm thinking from like a parenting perspective. A lot of parents, if they're honest, and if their child... I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Like... There are a lot of times where you want to kill your kid, all right, in a video game, where it's like, oh my God, you just want to, oh, this motherfucker, right? They won't stop screaming, they're being stupid, they're doing dumb shit in a store. But like, you're not an evil person for having the thought of like, I want to tie my kid to the back of my car and, drag this motherfucker. That's not, you get upset, but then you deal with the thought, it doesn't manifest in action, and you move on. People get mad at their friends, their partners, their kids, their teachers, coworkers. It's okay to have an upset feeling as long as it doesn't manifest in action. And then I don't think somebody would say, if anything, I feel like it would be a bit unhealthy to say that, like, if you ever have a bad thought, you need to excise these from your mind. These are unhealthy things. You should never have a bad thought. I mean, you shouldn't entertain a bad thought and have it manifest to a bad action, but...
That is the only reason we would say that. If in this hypothetical, we know it won't, there is nothing bad about it. The bad is the likeliness to lead to negative outcomes.
Did someone who vote for Trump do a bad thing?
If we, oh my God, how... Jesus Christ. The person who voted for Trump probably didn't believe that they did a bad thing because whatever moral values they have, they would probably argue aligns more with whatever moral values are being espoused by the Republican Party or Trump at the time versus but this is going to be a difference of perspective, no?
I would say yes, yeah.
Why? One vote doesn't change anything.
Fuck. Oh my God, what? Whoa, don't get dragged into this. What?
Well, I think it does. Each and every single one vote does something.
No, just the one person's individual vote. Was that individual vote, irrespective of anything else, was that a bad thing to do?
Yes.
Why? It had no effect on the contest. There was no likelihood that it would have an effect on the contest.
Because I would be holding a very different standard for that one individual versus literally everybody else.
Wait, whether you would hold a different standard for no, I'm saying any given individual. Any given individual, you would say, has...
Yes, I understand, and that's what I'm saying, is that the reason that I wouldn't is because I would be inconsistent on my standard. If you're saying, no, not like a standard that you would apply to everybody, well, the reason that I would say it's bad is because I'm applying the standard to everybody because each individual's vote matters in the end as a collective.
A particular individual goes up to you and it's like 5 minutes before polls close. And everyone else has already voted. They're the last person to vote. They said, dude, Tom, I'm going to vote for Trump. Would you say that's a bad thing?
Like, the issue here is that, like, he's hitting on, like, an individual thing. But it's like the process of voting is not a good or a bad thing because your individual vote will flip the election. It's because you have to participate in it's because you have to participate in democracy. It's like part of your responsibility in your democratic participation or civic duty, right? Much the same that, like, you could argue if you made $10,000 and you owed $100 in fucking taxes or whatever after credits and everything, and you didn't pay your $100, well, that $100 is a wash. It's a rounding error of a rounding error of a rounding error. The federal government's never going to know, right? So, but when we say, well, it wasn't bad then to not pay your taxes because they're not going to notice, or like you steal like one potato, it's not bad because the farmer's not going to notice. Like, this is no.
Yes.
But the votes have already occurred.
Or what? Yeah, he said
we're just considering that one person's action in the moment, and you're saying it's bad. You understand it won't affect the outcome, right?
It doesn't affect the outcome, but it's a vote?
Yeah, what does a vote do? I mean, she's not going to influence anyone else to vote for her. She's just now arriving at the polling station. She asks you, she says, I'm going to vote for Trump. It's negligible. It won't change anything. It's one vote.
Something being negligible shouldn't theoretically have an impact on the I think, on the moral value of the action, right? Like, littering is bad, whether you litter in a dirty place or a clean place. But if it's a really dirty place and you litter, the impact is going to be negligible. Nobody's going to notice, but it's still bad.
Let's say it's a vote in West Virginia. Okay, it's a vote in West Virginia by a conservative. I'm going to vote for Trump on the last minute of when the polls are open.
Yes.
It says to you, is that a bad thing? You would say that's a bad thing. Why?
Because if enough people did that thing,
it's already happened. All that shit has already occurred. She's the last voter. She's not going to change anything.
Again,
right?
I don't. You're saying that the very last person to vote, and we've already counted all of the ballots, and already know that he won.
Wait, not counting. Wait, are you fucking stupid, Tom? I know you're not this stupid. All right, I'm asking whether that action, the action of one person asking.
It's confusing here because Tom said that the beliefs are bad because they're tied to an action that causes something bad to happen. And now Pisco is saying, well, what if somebody... I don't even know why this is I don't even know why he's using this as an example. What if somebody doesn't vote? Like and you would consider that a bad action. But then he's trying to see if you disconnect it from all outcomes, would you still consider it a good or bad thing? But the outcome that he's tying it to here is not the actual outcome of voting. I don't think we vote with the intention that our one vote will flip an entire election, right? If that was the purpose of voting, was for one vote to flip an election, and then you chose not to vote, that might be bad. But we vote understanding that our singular vote probably won't flip an election almost ever. But this is such a dumb...
You, whether they're going to vote for Trump or whether that's bad, whether that is a bad action. Forget about counting.
How do I know? But if we haven't counted, how do I know it doesn't affect the outcome? What are you talking about?
Because none of these presidential elections turn on one vote. And it's in West Virginia, which isn't a swing state.
I'm sorry. It is still the same thing. It is because this is the standard that I would hold for everybody. I would have to be consistent with that standard.
No, Tom. Just examine that one action. That one action that you know to a certainty won't affect the outcome. It's not going to affect counting. It's not going to affect the disposition. It's in West Virginia. The person's conservative, and it's the last minute of voting. All the other votes have already baked in, whether they're counted or not. That action, you agree, has zero effect on the consequence, correct?
Let's say that you know for a fact there's a cyborg and he analyzes all the road conditions. He analyzes you yourself, and you go to drunk drive, and he says there's like the chances of you getting into an accident drunk driving is the exact same as the chance of you getting into an accident driving any other day. Is it okay to drunk drive as long as you know you're not going to get into an accident? I guess because the reason why we don't I just don't understand the argument here. Like we don't vote because we think one vote, the action of voting is not the action of changing the outcome of an election. It's adding our vote to the tally to express our voice, and then ideally your candidate is voted for at the end. But if you're trying to disconnect the action here of just like changing the outcome of the election, it's not. I don't think it's a fair comparison.
It likely has zero effect on the consequence. Yes.
Okay.
It is.
So why is it bad?
I don't. Okay. So as I said earlier, when I'm talking about morality, I'm talking about the likelihood of things, right? I don't know if I could identify this in the middle of an argument.
It's a really bad analogy because it's a really big trap here because he's mind fucked him into thinking that the reason why it's bad, or I'm sorry, you want to say that not voting wouldn't be bad here because it wouldn't change the outcome of the election. So then how are you connecting an action to the outcome or whatever? But it's like the outcome that we look for when we vote is not to flip an election. He's attached these things in a way that we would never attach them colloquially, and it's not why we say voting is good.
Likelihood isn't just based on one single individual and their one action, but it is based on a larger societal thing. So like if we say, okay, this person over here, when he's, if we allow one white person to start saying the N-word, well, it's not likely to like dehumanize black people and make people start thinking less of them but like, we wouldn't do that because now we're making this very one singular rule for this one person where like the reason we say don't use the N-word towards black people is because it likely will systemically, so Tom, everybody does
Tom,
will dehumanize them.
Tom, let me add to it. All right? Tom, whatever you say here isn't going to change the societal rule. That your recommendation to this person will have no effect on the societal rule. It's just...
I mean, in that case, like, at some point, it doesn't matter anymore. I don't know where he learned, like, fucking analogies from. All of the ways that he engages with analogies strips all of the, like, actual content of the concept that he's trying to interrogate, and it makes all of his analogies just completely nonsense. It's like not, like, you say it's bad to stab a person. Yes. Okay, what if when you stab that person, what if he secretly had a desire to die? Well, I mean, you wouldn't know, would you? Okay, what if you had a way to discern when people wanted to die, and then you walked down the street, and then you stabbed a person, and you knew that they wanted to die? And it's like, okay, we're assuming nobody's like traumatized. Yes, correct. It's like, okay, well, I guess in that case, then I guess it would be okay. Then that means that stabbing people is not intrinsically wrong, right? The stab is not wrong then, right? And it's like, I mean, Jesus Christ. I guess not in that context. Like, what the fuck?
One person is one.
We don't know the outcomes of elections before we vote, and we certainly don't communicate that to individuals, to single people before they vote. Like, it's not like possible to ever have this. It's an impossibly constructed hypothetical, right?
Rule that your recommendation to this person will have no effect on the societal rule. It's just one person. It's a one-time thing. It won't affect the societal rule. It won't affect the general standard. It won't affect what you say to your audience. It's a totally private conversation. This person's going to die the second after they vote.
Mm-hmm. So we hold the societal rule in individual circumstances. So I'm saying that's how you would like deduce it morally. I understand you're saying it doesn't affect the societal rule. I'm saying morally you are supposed to be consistent for this reason, is because in individual circumstances, if you make exceptions for specific people, you would need a reason for that exception.
Okay, now suppose the following. Suppose that her voting for Trump is going to provide $1 billion to the needy. There's some benefactor out there that if they vote for Trump, it'll just result in maximum good to some of
what he's doing. What if you psychically knew who wanted to be stabbed in the heart when you walked into the street ready to stab someone? Like, what the fuck?
A group that you care about. $1 billion.
Mm-hmm. Then I would say they should probably vote for Trump.
So it's a good thing to vote for Trump, correct? So the rule isn't consistent.
Oh my God. Woo-hoo. Woo! What? This can't be real. No? I was joking with the stab thing. I didn't pre-watch it. What? Hello?
Vote for Trump.
So it's a good thing to vote for Trump, correct? So the rule isn't consistent. So you're not being consistent in your rule, are you?
You're giving me a different outcome. If we're weighing outcomes, then it's a different outcome now.
Wait, so then what is the rule then? Sorry, explain to me.
It's bad to rape people. Really? What if humans liked to be raped? Well, then I guess it would be good to rape people. Oh, so the rule's not consistent then, is it, idiot? And it's like, well, I mean, like, there's an ontology of human. There's a general set of things that we assume they prefer and don't prefer. And we generally value our actions based on the impact that we have on said people who generally have like a certain set of preferences that we all understand. And when you start to destroy those internal sets of preferences, and when you start to destroy all of those things, well, then yeah, I guess all of your moral statements would change. But it's not because the moral statements are inconsistent. It's because you've created a new category of thing to apply the same moral statements to. Whatever you're talking about at the end of the day, that's not a human, right? Oh, what about humans that want to be raped? That's not our conventional understanding of a human being. Conventional human beings don't want to be raped. Conventional humans don't want to be stabbed. Conventional votes don't carry a $1 billion donation to the homeless. That's not a conventional understanding. If it was part of the fact that a vote could send $1 billion to homeless people, then we would totally change the way that we vote. We would change our understanding of it completely. Like,
the rule is the rule about outcomes.
It's a different outcome now.
Wait, so then what is the rule then? Sorry, explain to me the rule. Is the rule about outcomes?
Oh my God.
Yes, as I said from the beginning, that's what you were testing was outcomes.
But in this,
every single moral hypothetical with Pisco is the portal question. I don't know if you're aware of that. That's what's happening to this. Okay. The reason why the portal question is so controversial, the reason why the portal question is so weird, is because imagine you have to walk through a doorway, okay? Tell me, if you walk into the doorway at 5 miles per hour, what do you come out the doorway as walking 5 miles per hour, right? This is a single thing you pass through. I don't know why you would ever have a problem with this question. The portal question is weird because it changes the motion of the entrance to a doorway, but not the exit to a doorway, which is incredibly difficult to conceive of. It's a nonsensical question in a way, right? In the game portals operate like a doorway. They move at the exact same speed with reference to each other. You don't have like one thing moving while the other thing is stationary or whatever. Like, it's just like these things are always moving in a way that it's that they work with one another, basically. They have like some consistent frame of reference. But the portal question, it challenges that, okay? When you take actions, okay, like this, why is murder bad? Well, murder is bad because most people don't, every human being does not want to be murdered or killed. We can say unjustified killing. Killing is bad because nobody wants to be killed. But as soon as you start saying things like, well, what if there are some people that want to be killed? Okay, well then I guess murder wouldn't be bad then, as a rule. But the rule that you're crafting there is for a different ontology. It's for a different set of things with a different set of characteristics, because our understanding is all humans don't want to be killed. That's a default assumption that you make with every single human that you encounter. With even if they're asleep, if you come across a person passed out on the side of the road, even if you came out with a person passed out with a rope around their neck, you would still assume they would want to live. That's part of what our understanding of human being is, right? Is that they're somebody who doesn't want to be killed. So when you start removing what we would assume to be the logical outcomes, the causal relationships between our actions and our consequences, when you start removing these things and changing the things you're talking about so dramatically, you're asking nonsense questions that have no bearing on actions in the real world. You can't have one portal move and another portal not. You could create things with infinite speed, and you could create things that move faster than light. There's so many reasons why this doesn't work. You have infinite energy. It doesn't work. And every single moral hypothetical with Pisco feels like the portal question, where one thing is broken off from another thing, and then you're trying to understand how these two things can work when you've totally changed how anybody would understand these concepts.
A situation in which there's a no effect on the outcome, then the rule should say that it doesn't matter, right? To vote for Trump.
Yes, but as I said earlier, if I'm going to make an exception for a single individual, I would have to have a reason for that single individual to have an exception. You gave me one.
Yeah, so there was a reason in one case, and that reason was $1 billion to charity, and the other reason is it doesn't affect anything. Both outcomes.
Correct, but in one I have a reason for the change. The other one I don't, and now I'm just inconsistent for some reason.
No, you have motivating reasons for both. In one, it's $1 billion.
Okay, so then let me ask you the same question. Somebody goes to vote for Trump. No, because I have answered, but I don't understand how you could possibly differ from this. So I want to hear you answer the same question. If the person's going to vote for Trump, what is their vote bad?
Yeah, I would say because when we were analyzing votes as individuals, we're not criticizing the vote in terms of its instrumental effect on the election. We're just criticizing the state of world that somebody is wanting, right? We're basically criticizing desires. That's when you talk about individual votes. Obviously, when you talk about collectives voting and where that actually affects margins and outcomes, then you can start to, consider outcomes 100%. But when we talk about one individual, right, there's a reason why you criticize Hassan Piker or Mike from PA or any of these lefties to the extent that they didn't vote for a candidate, right, and put aside their non-endorsement. Just take about their vote individually. So assume that you talk to a lefty who you're just meeting now, and they said, I didn't vote for Kamala. They say something like, but I lived in a blue state. So it wouldn't have mattered. You would still condemn that action, right? And it wouldn't be because, you had a detrimental effect. You were going to put New York in jeopardy. It's because when we're criticizing and saying it's immoral, what we're really doing is we're criticizing a signaling effect. We're criticizing a disposition. We're criticizing someone's belief that they want the world to look a particular way. That's what's being criticized.
No, the belief is manifesting itself in an action of saying that you didn't vote. Because we would say that not voting is bad, but there's a separate action of signaling that you didn't vote, which is arguably worse. That's actually the worst action. Because depending on who you are, what would be more important? Hassan Piker to vote for Kamala Harris and tell people not to, or Hassan Piker to not vote for Kamala Harris and to tell people to vote for her? Those are two separate and distinct actions. The signaling thing that you're doing here is an action unto itself.
Not the vote as vote. We're criticizing the belief.
No, it's not just a belief. When you say something, when you put something into the world, that's an action. The translation of the belief into a statement is an action. And the action is telling people, the implication being, is not to vote by saying, I didn't vote. Huh. Like, how do you manifest any belief into something in reality? Like we can't read brainwaves?
Vote as vote. We're criticizing the belief.
That is...
It's confusing. Like I said, I don't know if I would catch this in the middle of trying to do the argument. Like, it's such a nonsense. Everything about this question is so nonsense.
I feel I don't.
Right?
To me, these
follow me on
aren't
the lefty,
super
right?
separate.
The lefties
No, hold on. So hold on. All that much. That like because the same thing that like if all of a sudden I don't find it impossible that New York could turn red, and so this one individual in New York holding the standard, one, they want these things, and because they want these things, they go vote for it, and when they vote for it, it gets these outcomes. If enough people do that, so you hold the standard that is bad because each individual.
You keep fighting the hypo. You're saying if enough people do X, Y, Z, but we're
I'm explaining why I would hold the standard in general, and I'm saying that when you're giving me a hypothetical, I'm saying this is why the standard exists. This is why the principle exists in my eyes. When you're giving me a standard that doesn't delineate from my standard, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
So your standard is that the vote is bad because individually voting, if X exists, right? If some other thing exists, would be determinant in terms of the overall outcome, right? And that would change results.
Oh my God.
But there's a big problem with that, Tom. Which is if there's a trend against a given result or a trend for New York to go red, your one vote isn't going to affect that trend either, right? Your vote isn't affecting the trend and it's not affecting the ultimate outcome. It's affecting neither.
Yes, it's a standard. That's how standards work. You hold a principled standard, and you hold it consistently across each person.
Independent of the outcome.
Well, no, because again, the outcome is that if enough people do this, then it does change the outcome. That is the reason for the standard.
Not one vote.
No, but the idea that one vote will change the outcome is what's important. Just like one person, like, why is it bad to pollute? One polluter has almost no impact whatsoever on the environment. And there might be a trend towards more pollution, but you would hold the standard of not polluting with the hopes that enough people would not pollute as part of the standard and the system that you would have a meaningful impact on pollution. But this is like, he's looking at like an individual action and he's divorcing it from that individual actor being able to change the entirety of some system that this belief is held to perpetuate, right? The system of voting. And then he's saying if you can't effectuate a total change in the outcome, that somehow the individual action has no justification behind it anywhere. This is retarded.
Not one vote. Agreed? Not one vote?
Yes, not one vote. That's why I said if enough people do it. That is why you have the standard. So that enough people never do it.
You as an individual voter, you're not going to affect whether or not enough people do it.
Correct. That's why you hold societal standards, so that it is.
No, but you're getting meta on me. You're saying basically
morals are kind of meta. Well, no, I'm sorry. Hold on. Not all morals are kind of meta. Like, you could very easily look at just like murder, I think, in a vacuum. But voting, the whole concept of voting implies the existence of multiple voters. It's impossible to fathom voting in a vacuum. How could you possibly entertain a hypothetical about voting in a vacuum where you are the only voter, or where it's you or only against 1,000 other voters that are all against you? That's not what the concept of that's not what voting means. Just like 10,000 years ago, the concept of pollution on a widespread scale didn't exist. Like, yeah, you could throw something in a river. Maybe that wouldn't even fucking matter. You just move up the river. Like, these concepts don't exist unless you're at scale. It's a meaningless concept.
You're basically saying we should tell people.
That's how I do fucking. That's meta.
Voting is meta. Why would you vote if there's one person on the planet? You wouldn't need to vote at that point. It would just be you. It's an abstract system of things. How I almost wonder if he tries to pick the perfect analogies to obscure whatever the fuck he's trying to communicate as much as possible. Like, Jesus.
I analyze
that's meta.
morals.
Wait,
that's how I analyze morals.
Tom, that's meta. You're basically saying, what is it moral to say? But I'm not asking what it's moral to say. I'm asking what's moral to express. I'm asking what's moral.
Yes, hold on. I am saying that I analyze the morals based on how it would affect these things societally, and that if there is a negative effect societally, if this becomes a norm,
like, it's so funny. He chose literally the most meta action, potentially, that we literally do in a democracy. What could be more meta than voting? It's like the most meta thing you could possibly do. It's like 300 million or however the fuck many are registered to vote, people going to the polls to choose the direction of our fucking country. Like, it's like he probably chose the single most meta action you could ever possibly fucking choose. Ever. Like, what the fuck?
That is the thing that I'm trying to avoid. So on an individual basis, we try to stop that by treating the individuals based on this standard.
Okay. I guess I don't understand. We can agree to disagree.
Okay.
And
Base.
how does this relate to anti-Semitism?
Well, that is the thing that I'm trying to get at, is that like the like in a bunch of different circumstances, like I said, like calling somebody the N-word, like one person saying the N-word with a hard R, it doesn't do a whole lot. Like it doesn't do a whole lot. It doesn't mean a whole lot. It hurts somebody's feelings, just like saying, you know, they're stupid does. Like maybe a little bit harsher, but there's a lot of things that you can say to somebody that's mean. But there is yeah.
Clip it.
But it is like dehumanizing language that, if allowed to be used at a like societal rate and becomes a norm.
By the way, I did notice this in the way that he speaks, and now I don't know, bro. I think I am. I do believe I'm mind-fucking myself a little bit more conspiratorially here, but there's a very specific thing that I've noticed that Pisco has started to do, and I don't know if this was a tip that he got from the Gisticlers or somebody else. There's a very particular thing that Pisco does. When I say that he tries to clip people, listen to when he is talking about disagreements that he's having with anybody that he perceives to be around my community. There's a thing that he'll always say when they're angling to capture some people or dissuade some people from agreeing with him. He always points out who agreed with him in an argument and then who disagreed. And he makes it very clear. So like they'll be talking about a thing like, oh yeah, like we said this. And remember, in that conversation, Hutch agreed with us. Remember when we did that stream? Hutch agreed with every point we made. And remember, we were talking in Wick, and Wick said that. Remember, all four of us, we all agreed on that point 100%. He's very careful to point this out consistently. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a thing that he's always done and I'm just noticing it, or if I'm just more paranoid or whatever, but like I notice that he does that very explicitly to like signal. It's like, we agree on this thing, they don't agree. We remember when we had a talk, we all agreed on this thing, right? We all agreed. It's just fucking annoying. Oh my God, I hate all this. This whole space is so fucking obnoxious.
Dehumanizes these people overall, makes it harder for them to get jobs, makes it harder for them to get...
These are all just like reasons, right? Like these are all like reasons for having certain conduct. I'm just like, but the question isn't the question, what is anti-Semitism?
How did they get on here? How they got back to here?
When you say, yeah, but I'm saying why it's bad. The reasons for why it's bad.
But we're not talking about why anti-Semitism is bad. We're talking about whether something is anti-Semitic.
Is something that's good ever anti-Semitic?
It's possible. Agreed.
It's just, we've just tortured all these concepts so much. I just don't even know, man. And it's like, are these union statements or conditional statements or whatever in moral philosophy? It's like, oh, you think anti-Semitism is always bad? Oh, well, what if I could engage in one unit of anti-Semitism, but 10,000 children's lives will be saved? Wouldn't you say the anti-Semitism there was good? And then the answer would be no. You would say that despite the badness of the anti-Semitism, that there was some amount of goodness that overcame the badness of that thing. It didn't actually make the thing itself good. You can just outweigh the bad of that thing with something else. Like we would agree that pollution is bad, but there might be reasons sometimes, maybe, to pollute.
I don't know.
Logically possible. Is it
logically possible?
You're not aware of it? You can't invent a hypothetical? Okay, so I'll give you a hypothetical.
No, he's gonna no, he's not.
Literally part of my definition that it would have to have a negative outcome. So no.
Wait a second. Hang on a second. So wait, anti-Semitism, the whether something's anti-Semitic, a necessary component is that it be bad?
Yes.
Okay, then where's that? Where are you finding that definition?
I said at the beginning that I think it's the same for all of these things, whether it's racism, homophobia, transphobia, anti-Semitism, that they are some sort of like negative, unfair bias or unfair discrimination. The unfair aspect obviously is bad. And then the fact that it would have some sort of negative outcome, that like this is what bad means generally. So it's...
Okay, so what is it? So sorry, say it again. What is anti-Semitic? What is...
Unfair bias.
What is... anti-Semitism. All right, I'm going to write it down. All right, sorry, hang on a second. Unfair bias.
Mm-hmm. Or unfair discrimination.
Or unfair discrimination.
Oh, man.
Based on their Judaism.
Based on Judaism. Okay. All right.
And I'm saying that
I don't actually have a huge problem with
anti-Semitism.
I actually don't have a huge problem with this definition in terms of what people most ordinarily think.
Oh boy.
So unfair bias or unfair discrimination based on Judaism. I think that's fine because I think bias here, right, indicates some mental state of a human being as applied to individuals. Well, let's just disambiguate that first.
I don't think anybody would have ever used the term bias like this. Like bias only implies a mental state, but not an action. Like it's so hard to imagine being critical of, like, I'm sure we can in like a philosophy classroom, or if we're doing like thought experiments with friends, but the idea that we can so easily and quickly disaggregate or disentangle a belief state from any action is just such a nonsense way to view human beliefs. Like, every action that we have is preceded by a belief related to the action. Like, we don't take actions randomly, right? I think, right? We agree that we don't take actions randomly. We have beliefs for why we do the things that we do. And the idea that, like, well, let's go ahead and start entertaining the concept of having all these beliefs with no actions attached to them is just such a weird way of conceptualizing anything.
A person to be anti-Semitic, they must have an unfair.
Okay.
It's the same Hassan Piker who just last month pointed out to his viewers that he adorned his set with a photo of the attack.
You might have noticed some changes behind me.
He's such a fucking lunatic. Oh my God.
I finally framed the Cutie Cinderella newspaper from 9/11, the morning of 9/12, the newspaper right there. The newspaper that covered 9/11. It's now
fucking loser.
Officially sitting behind me.
CJ, you're
like, I don't even understand what the fucking, like, what the point of that is. Is there, like, I guess they're trying to say, like, oh no, he loves 9/11. That's why he put it behind him. Like,
where would anybody ever get the idea that you love terrorist attacks against Western nations? I wonder, Hassan. Where would we ever get that fucking idea from?
Like, as though it's not one of the most significant news stories of all of our lives.
You see the Nazi talking points here? Like, this is like the same shit. Like, what was it called? Is it Succession? Like,
hey, Mark. Great to see you. Come on in. I caught the show this morning. Thank you. Thanks. So Karen tells me you want the full colonoscopy, huh?
Oh, dude, no. We both know, I think, how dumb these things are. You know how it is. It's just due diligence with all the turbulence. And can I just need to check a few boxes?
Sure. Thank you for the show of faith.
No problem. Okay, right. Okay, so this is embarrassing, but just for the record and just so we have it, you are not and have never been a member of the Nazi Party of the United States, have you?
Come on, Tom, are you serious?
Nope. Thank you. Sorry to have to even ask. And, oh yes, the Hitler dog thing.
Okay, the dog thing's bullshit.
Great, I thought so.
Different spelling.
Okay, different spelling?
Yeah.
Okay, and this other one that came up, just to fend this off, have you ever read Mein Kampf?
Yeah, a couple times, I guess.
Couple times? Are there Easter eggs in there you didn't get the first time?
Look, I'm interested in that period of history, Tom, okay? I've skimmed it.
Skimmed, yeah, thank you. And what specifically do you find interesting about that period of history?
The scale. The tragedy.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and which tragedies specifically?
Europe decimated. 7 million Germans, 20 million Russians, 5 million Poles.
Yeah. Just checking the till here, Mark, and it seems you're short a few million.
He's so stupid. He's such a fucking...
Like, they literally are like, no, if you're Muslim, you can't say anything.
Oh my fucking God. This is like I feel like I pre-watched today, where it's like, what is anti-Semitism? Well, you can harbor a whole bunch, you can have a whole bunch of rhetoric or statements or actions that literally make every single thing you say and do completely, totally indistinguishable from any card-carrying neo-Nazi. But as long as you don't interpersonally hate all Jews, you're fine. Meanwhile, Hassan, it's kind of weird that you like worship terrorist attacks against the West. Oh, so you hate Muslims? What?
About 9/11, you can't really are like, no, if you're Muslim, you can't say anything about 9/11. You can't. You can't even recognize its significance. I'm a fucking media professional.
Oh my God, he's trying to make me suicidal. Media professional now. Wow, how many new titles does this guy fucking get in a week? Media journalist. But then also small-time Twitch streamer, white, but also Muslim, so Muslim that he's experienced extreme Islamophobia. Like, what the fuck?
Like, that part is actually the most insane. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, he's agitating us.
He calls it agitprop. You do. Your whole goal is agitation.
He's doing it on purpose. He's like flexing, like I did 9/11 or some shit. Okay?
She's like, what am I? Jewish?
Reaction.
I mean, that part is like 100% Islamophobia through and through. So
Oh
if I
my
catch any of you
fucking
dumb motherfuckers in here being... If I catch anyone in here...
Oh, who's running the tight ship now? Remember earlier when I said, if you don't agree with me that Pisco's anti-Semitic, I'm going to permaban you. I'm going to look for everybody and permaban you if you don't agree that Pisco's anti-Semitic. Now, who's running the tight ship now? Hold on.
Phobia through and through. So if I catch any of you dumb motherfuckers in here being... If I catch anyone in here being like, well... Don't you feel like you lean into, as you said, America deserved 9/11? Like, you are 100% caving to 1,000% Islamophobic narrative making here. Like, that's it.
So also, yeah. So hold on. Is he Islamic or what? Was he white or?
I'm sorry, I feel like I was missing a little bit of a Hassan slop. And can you fucking imagine if, like, someone had a paper about the fucking Holocaust, like the camps, like how many were killed, and they had that fucking hung behind them? Like, the idea that you would be like, what do you mean? I'm just, I just really like World War II. Fucking insane.
Yeah.
Just absolutely, like...
Kind of, yeah. I mean, like, it's... Yeah, I mean, I think I'm agreeing. But, like, the problem isn't the paper. It almost has nothing to do with the paper. It's the fact that he's literally... One, he has the edgy statement about America deserved 9/11, right? Which, regardless if you can justify it, that already makes it a little sus. But the fact that he continually watches and supports terrorist attacks against every Western nation on the planet... Why would anybody think any differently with you having a fucking 9/11 paper in the background, other than you think it's fucking based and awesome? Like, of course...
You know what? You know what the litmus test for this is? Like the Occam's razor. Like that, maybe it feeds in a little bit to your debate with Pisco and anti-Semitism. Like, what is it? What is this thing? How you define this word? I think the best way of doing this is like, what is the common person? What would they think in this situation? So if you were to put 100 people that had a 9/11 newspaper framed behind, in their room, how many of those people do you think would the common person say, that kind of hates America. He's a little bit of a terrorist enjoyer. How many of those people do you think that would be? And it would be a huge majority. And it would be the same thing of like, hey, if there was someone who had like some, Holocaust memorabilia, to put it in a nice way, behind them, do you think those people might be a little bit not a fan of the Jews? It's just...
Maybe, yeah. You would need a whole bunch of other stuff to not feel that way. Like...
It would have to be like, I'm running a fucking museum.
No, it
like,
doesn't have to be.
everything.
My aunt was in the NYPD for 20 years and lived in New York City. I could totally see her getting something like this because she was a first responder. Like 9/11 is for any fucking person that grew up in New York City or that lived in New York City when it happened.
Or the journalist who wrote the article.
Sure.
Or the byline
or anybody that was like in that environment. Like people in New York City love fucking New York City. I could see it. But like when your wall is full of like fuck America shit and you're on the record saying so much crazy shit. Same thing with like Nazi memorabilia. Obviously it would be edgy to have. But if you collected a whole bunch of like World War II shit and it was part of like a collection of stuff, that I mean like people would understand. But if you show up and somebody only has like the fucking Plattner tattoo hanging on their wall and that's it, and like, oh, I just like World War II stuff.
You know what it is? Hassan always loves to say shit. It's out of context. They're using an out of context clip. In this case, when you talk about Hassan having a 9/11 newspaper behind him the day after, it is out of context because the context is so much worse.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the context would make it better, but it's not. It's worse. It's like, well, he does have a Luger on the table, but maybe he just, thinks it's a cool gun. Ooh, the context. No, he does. He's not a gun fan. He's a fan of some other stuff,
Yeah. He's like a sword collector, right? That's why, and he must have found one with a swastika. That's kind of weird. It's like, actually, he has no fucking idea how to. Actually, literally the only reason he picked that sword was because it looks like a swastika. He called it the swastika sword. Yeah.
It's just.
Dude, what do you think is going to happen when they get to the? I wonder what's going to happen when they get to the fucking Houthi interview. That shit might do numbers. Because I don't think anybody stumbled into that yet. There are a couple of statements that seem a little bit milquetoast, but like the guy's talking about like when Hassan, this fucking retarded fuck, is giggling along at like the drugged passengers and shit, and when they're joking about the hostages that were kept for like it was like 450 days, I think, on that ship. I don't know, man. That's pretty.
You have to remember what moved the needle before and what it does now. I have a theory about something. Like I think that Hassan is getting popular enough now that there might be women from his past that falsely claim he did shit. Like that does happen when people get fucking big enough. I don't think that's good at all, but like I could absolutely seeing that happen when people start getting big enough, like start retrospectively being like, oh, I didn't actually want to be there that night. It's fucked up, but that shit happens a lot, and he's getting fucking big enough and he's doing crazy enough shit. As far as stuff that like he's currently done that I think that would like fuck him over, I don't like the Houthi stuff is something, but you have to think about like what moved the needle the most for common people, and it's always been shit like he lied about shocking his dog. Like that's the type of shit.
Different bubbles, different communities. The dog shocker thing played well on the internet communities. In real life, the 9/11 clip is the thing that is like, especially for Al Sayed. The guy he looks brown. He's got a Muslim name. He's spooky because he's a Muslim. Republicans are racist as fuck. Like that is just going to be played infinitely. It's just such a crazy thing. And then Hassan Piker, the guy who grew up in Turkey and came to the United States that is pro-terrorism, thinks that America deserves 9/11. Like that's just such a crazy, horrible thing to.
Sorry, hold on. I have to clear shit up because there's a bunch of people who are fucking psychotic about this shit. Okay, when I say that I suspect that type of shit is going to happen, it's because that type of shit happens frequently, not because I think it should. I think it's fucked up, obviously. I'm just calling like the most likely outcome of what I think is going to happen. Like I don't like you guys are like we can't even talk about that because that's bad. It is bad. I don't think it should. Even this morning. When I was on stream with Moot, they were actually, for the first time in the history of Hassan's content, playing his shit actually out of context. I couldn't fucking believe it. It was, you know how hard it is to play Hassan shit out of context? That is like, that's amazing. And they did it, and we called it out and said, this is actually fucking crazy that they're doing this. And we said that. But don't ask me to like not tell you what I'm thinking or not tell you what I'm saying because you think it's not going to be. I've never been this guy. I don't give a shit, right? If obviously of how they've played shit over.
If it were to fuck him over,
what?
Well, now fuck. I don't want to speak it in. Oh fuck.
Just say it.
No, I actually can't. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm typing it for you. This would be crazy, but I'm not going to say this just because the idea is actually so insanely powerful. This would be like unstoppable. Hold on.
Chat, you would have got this, but you told me blame the few people. I think there was like 4 or 5 people who were bullshitting at me, so you can blame them. That's why you're not getting this. Let's see.
Like.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep. That would do it. Oh man, and that would sure put some people in a fucking pickle, wouldn't it?
Like, there's nothing, right? There's literally because.
Yeah.
But I obviously I can't even speak that into existence. But like, yeah, it's Jesus.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you. But I think all those things will I mean, this and more is going to happen. The 9/11 shit is bad. I got to be honest with you on one thing. Not that I would lie to you. I'm using that as a phrase when I say I got to be honest. It's not like most of the time I'm dishonest with you.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, but I wanted to throw that out there. So that said, I got to be honest with you. I don't have much respect for Hassan, but I have respect for his hustle as to how much he streams, even though it's out of vanity and for money. I did lose some respect for him doing the 9/11 poster behind him, not because I don't he's in the game, he's on that side, that's signal boosting, but because of how incredibly stupid it was to do it. That is the biggest sabotage thing of all time to do. The juice was not worth the squeeze on that one.
But do you understand why?
There is no why. There was something you could have done instead of that.
Well, yeah, but there's a why, and the why is the thing that I've been fucking bitching about forever is that nobody on the left covers him fairly. He thinks he's invincible, and he isn't really crazy to think that. Dog, this guy is watching terrorist attacks on Twitch, cheering them on, and he hasn't ever gotten banned, like almost ever on this platform for fucking anything. So, much like Arnold Schwarzenegger fucking the maid, why wouldn't Hassan think he could literally get away with fucking anything and nobody will ever hold him accountable? The guys with some of the toughest interviews in the world, Mehdi Hassan, and he sits there and he glazes them the whole fucking time. He doesn't hold a desk for anything. He's on all these shows. Nobody fucking asks him a critical question ever. He's never fought with Republicans in his entire fucking life. He's got even...
Well, I mean, he is now.
Yeah, now he is, yeah. But I mean, that's why. Yeah, that's probably why he's like so arrogant. He's like, I got the 9/11 poster. He has no concept of what it's like to actually be held to account for something. This guy's never been held accountable for his entire fucking life, right? Imagine if you worked for a media company and you were out there saying America deserved 9/11. You would have been fucking shit-canned. But why didn't Hassan get fired? Because his uncle owns the company and he brought him on TV and made him apologize. So he's never had a consequence in his life for anything. So it's not surprising,
the crazy shit, I cannot believe that there is a bill in front of Congress, a bipartisan bill, to say that this guy is the most anti-Semitic man in America, basically, right? That's not Nick Fuentes that has this bill coming for him. It's Hassan. Okay?
Yeah. And it's not even like he's in he's not in good company with Norm Finkelstein, so look at what they're doing. He's with Candace Owens. It's
with Candace Owens.
Yeah.
So you have that, right? A bill against a civilian condemning them. I don't think that's happened since Farrakhan, as far as I know. Mm-hmm. So this is extraordinary to have happen. And then also, I think that you can very clearly point to the fact that Twitch has allowed this guy to consistently discriminate against people on a basis of national origin, nonstop, right?
Let's barely, right? When you're showing pictures of every single Israeli and they're all inbred, is that national origin? But I know what you're saying, but it's more than that. You know that, yeah. But yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. But even the national origin on Twitch is TOS. That's a TOS violation. Didn't Forsen get banned for 30 days when he was playing CS:GO because he said fucking Russians? Or was there something more to that I missed? Do you remember that drama?
Oh yes, that did. You're correct. It was for Russia.
He said, I think he said retarded Poland. Fucking Russians or something. He got a 30-day ban for that, and it was in CS:GO. They might be the only group of people on the planet that have a better reason to hate Russians than Ukrainians. It was CS:GO, and he got 30 days on Twitch for that. That's crazy.
It is because Hassan on the daily will talk about how evil all Israelis are. It's not a secret. I think he'll say that day to day is just the only Israeli is one that has not moved to America and is now actively condemning the entire state and trying to destroy it. That's it. If you're an Israeli with any positive feelings about the country, you shouldn't be able to walk a dog. It's just so much shit like that, but so much more. The fact that Twitch doesn't do anything, if
it was imagine if he was Jewish on a billionaire's owned platform and he was able to say this type of thing again about Arabs or about Palestinians. It would be riots, right? The Amazon HQ would be destroyed. It would be burned down. They would be firebombing Bezos' home and Dan Clancy's fucking home. That would be how crazy it is. But because of the direction of everything, nobody gives a fuck about anything at all. And the audacity that this fucking guy cries so much about how he's being persecuted by the billionaires. Everything was bro, you are the most spoiled motherfucker on the planet. He's talking about getting droned because that's the only way Fox News can get a shot of him because of the huge fucking bushes he has outside of his $4 million house, standing on top of his pool with his tortured designer dog in frame. Holy shit. Okay.
I just, they have the meme images, like imagine the world if X happened. Just imagine the world if fucking Twitch just banned this motherfucker, at least for 30 days, once, like 4 or 5 years ago. That's it. Not even a permaban, just enough to let them know, hey, retard, that's enough. Smack him on the nose with the newspaper, realize, hey, yeah, that's a fucking rule. Like, we would have the fucking, what did that, Shonda Black say about you? We would have communism by now.
Yeah.
We would have free healthcare.
Or the
like,
FBI
that's all it would have
visit,
taken.
The FBI visit I got where I had to explain to them that, that Mike from PI guy, when he said he was going to offer $100,000 for anybody to show up and kill me, he was just joking. I don't take this guy seriously. I hate myself. I should have told the FBI that I thought it was a real threat, so they would have showed up at his house and asked him questions. I can't believe I let him walk on so much stupid shit.
You absolutely should do that. Whenever
they ever come again,
whenever that stuff comes,
because
whenever that stuff happens,
got a visit.
It's all completely serious every time.
I'm pretty sure Asmongold got a visit for, because I think Mike also made comments against him, and the FBI, I'm pretty sure, visited both me and Asmongold for those same, I think it was the same set of comments, the same time period. But I should have just told him, actually, I think this guy is going to kill me. Go investigate him. So stupid. It's just so cringe. These guys are all so fucking. What do you think?
The one thing that, I think I said this to you before a little bit. Like, you know how, it was a shitty feeling. I know it was a shitty feeling for you, the whole Gudgel situation, right? Like, you put a lot of effort into that, and, it kind of, basically the guy dropped out after all the fucking bullshit. Mm-hmm. You have to understand that the feeling that you had then, that was a shit feeling. That's like this not guilt by association, something shame by association, maybe. You have to understand the feeling that Hassan must have now over what he's putting good people through as a result of the shit he's done.
Nothing. He feels nothing. He has no.
He has to.
He doesn't though. He's a demon. Why would he? He has no feelings for any of these fucking people. He's completely so. Because if he did for a microsecond,
if I was Hassan, I would be so sorry. I would be saying, listen, Abdul, please just fucking condemn me.
He's not.
Please.
He's listening to his stream. He's literally giving advice to Abdul. He's like, no, Abdul should be turning this. He listened to a clip this morning where he's like, he should be using all of this for popular support. Like, these clips don't matter at all. Like, he should be happy when when the media asks him about me, he should just always use that as an opportunity to have a positive media narrative or whatever. He doesn't give a fuck.
I guess
he's demonic.
I just can't get into the mind of an actual. I mean, that's actual psychopath shit, right?
No.
What is the dark triad shit?
He's just
actually
not
feeling anything?
He's just a cloud demon. That's it. He's not even cool enough to be a psychopath. Don't give him that, okay? That's for Dexter, all right?
Man. Dude, I sent you a clip. He said he's suing some dude today. Odds on this, actually, a single piece of paper actually getting filed. I sent you here. There's the clip.
Hassan acts in such a way that he will take everybody down around him if he thinks he has something to gain for it. You might call him spiritually Israeli.
Initial clip came. The initial clip.
Is this the guy?
Came
this may have been the guy I said
uh,
was playing shit out of context, but I still don't know if that's going to meet the bar. It was. What he was doing was fucking crazy. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was something he was basically cutting up his words to make him say shit he didn't initially say. It was no.
You could try to find it. Well, no. People. The worst thing. I mean, I'm sure there are even worse examples, but one of the worst things was that the Tallarico cut from Elon Musk's America Pact. You saw that one, right? With the immigrants open doors.
I probably did. I don't fucking remember it, but yeah, sure. I'll take your word for it.
Somebody link me this stupid fucking tweet.
I can imagine. Just literally putting shit together. I can. It would be removing words I don't like this and having it say I like this. I understand how crazy people can get.
I'm just saying it's par for the course in politics. People will do retarded shit.
So my family is from the border. My mom grew up in Laredo, Texas.
Okay, never mind. I don't know why
I don't need. I don't. It's fine.
Yep.
You don't have to ban anyone. It's okay.
Okay.
So all I was going to say is
Hassan's clip is not even close to the worst of what I'm saying. I don't think he's going to get anywhere in a lawsuit.
Sure. So it was bad. I've never done anything clipping shit out of that because I think it does take away your credibility when you actually go full out of context.
Sure.
Not even out of context.
But Republicans
when you just,
They have no credibility. But I know what
they
you
have no
mean.
rules.
Yeah, I
Yes,
know what you mean.
Republicans
Yeah.
have no rules.
They're
Now they're
demons.
seeing this.
Yeah.
But the I don't know if this rose to the level of per se defamation. I think Hassan would just lose on this. Even like the thing also comes to the case is like you have to prove that your reputation has been hurt as a result of this. In otherwise, like the per se defamation thing, like you're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to make $5,000. It's not gonna. Well, not anyways. Yeah, you can play it.
The initial clip came from the RNC, and now Scott Jennings is highlighting it. This is such an egregious lie. It is such an egregious instance of defamation that numerous people who fucking hate me, like literally hate me, have actually gone out to bat and said, this is the worst instance of defamation that I have seen. I hope you sue him, which I am. I'm in the process of I'm working through litigation right now.
Yeah, we'll see.
The initial clip came from...
Fuck me, actually. You know what the fucking annoying thing is?
What?
Is he might actually be able to get it retracted, but not because of any fucking legal threat and not because of any defamatory thing, but because all these motherfuckers have the same talent agency. I don't know if it's either... It's not.
No. That would be possible.
Yeah,
but if so,
whoever
I'll
his
just,
agent is,
I'll
I bet
just,
it's fucking annoying.
I'll just double down, right? Like
What?
that's before he said. What I mean is like he said he was gonna sue Asmongold because he called him Diddy Piker, and I think I went on Twitter and I said Diddy Piker, dog striker, abuses animals, do something, and then he shut the fuck up. I'll just do it again. Like he for the most part, Hassan really can't do anything for a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Even in this case, I don't know. Like there's so few things now that he's fucked himself, honestly. Like he's just Hassan verbatim will lie about people.
Yeah, of
Not
course.
in a lie of how'd someone else put this to me? Not like a lie of
omission, or it's like
an
implying
omission,
something.
which is different. Like for instance, if a lie of omission can still be very bad. Like if a doctor knows that you're on a pill and you're taking it every day and you say, "Hey doctor, will this other pill I'm thinking about, will this kill me?" And you don't, and he doesn't mention it. And he said, "No, it won't." That's a lie of omission if you die because he knows you're taking the other pill as well. Like that's bad. Hassan would just be like, "No, you can take pill 1 and pill 2. You'll be fine. You'll be all right. You're good." Like he just drops all the bullshit and just fucking goes straight in with full on fucking lies.
Pretty crazy. Not good.
No.
Okay, gonna self-harm now.
Enemy.
Oh no. Yeah, you're going to be saying, "Where's the Jon Stewart that was asking the tough questions to?"
Nope. Kramer. That guy's gone a long time ago.
What sells the most is probably outrage,
Right,
anger, and those things. So how do you and your model avoid being captured by the rage of the townspeople? You know, how do you avoid pitchforks and torches?
Oh my God.
Well, that's why we're really blessed, honestly. It's a right-left show. So, at any given time, a decent portion of the audience is mad.
What are the other of us?
It works well.
It works really well.
We're going to be hated no matter what by some portion, yeah.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Weekly Show podcast. My name is Jon Stewart, the final podcast of the year. We will be gone for the rest of August, and I think coming back in early September. So, been a delightful year. Obviously, tonight, I think, is the Wisconsin primary. We don't know what's going to happen. We'll probably discuss it during the episode, even though we have no idea what it's going to be. And then, we'll talk about the other things. It's the dog days of summer. There's not a whole lot going on right now. It's a little bit quiet. Senate is on recess. The House on recess. I am going to go away. I've got a lovely, like a snorkel vacation planned in this beautiful, crystal clear. I probably am not pronouncing this right. Strait of Hormuz. Where we're going to see that's never going to fucking end. But we got a great show for today. I wanted to bring on a couple of folks that I feel like have been doing the kind of I'm on the left, I'm on the right discussion. I feel like they do it in a way that engenders good faith. And so
I'm so glad that I don't have, that I don't still do mushrooms or psychedelics. I think my mind would actually break. These are two of the worst fucking propagandists in all of media right now, is crystal balls and this fucking Sager retard. And Jon Stewart is about to come on and slurp up both of their disgustingly horrendous propaganda media. And it's just so crazy because one of the things that Jon Stewart is most known for, this exact same speech would apply exactly to these two disgusting fucking ghouls. The exact speech here would apply.
Meanwhile, the president's challenger was also in New York, also facing some difficult questions. How do you stay in shape? Crossfire. Meanwhile, the president's challenger was also in New York, also facing some difficult questions. How do you stay in shape?
Do you eat something?
Do you have a routine? Do you run in the morning? It's like Nerf Crossfire.
Welcome back to Crossfire. As both of our loyal viewers, of course, know, our show is all about left versus white, black versus white, paper versus plastic, Red Sox against the Yankees. That's why every day we have two guests with their own unique perspective on the news. But today, Crossfire is very different. We have just one guest. He's either the funniest smart guy on TV or the smartest funny man. We'll find out which in a minute. But he's certainly an Emmy Award winner, the host of Comedy Central's Daily Show, and the co-author of the new mega bestseller, America the Book, A Citizen's Guide to Inaction, at your bookstores everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Crossfire, Jon Stewart.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you to say. Now what? Can I say something very quickly? Why do we have to fight? The two of you, can't we just say something nice about John Kerry right now?
I like John. I care about John Kerry.
And something about President Bush.
He'll be unemployed soon. I failed
See, I made the effort anyway.
No, actually, I knew Bush in Texas a little bit, and truth is, he's actually a great guy. He's not a very good president, but he's actually a very good person. I don't think you should have to hate to oppose somebody, but it makes it easier.
Why do you argue? The two of you, I hate to see it.
We enjoy it.
Let me ask you a question.
Wait, let me ask you a question first.
All right.
Is John Kerry really the best? I mean, I think, John Kerry's not a terrible guy.
Is he the best? I thought Lincoln was good.
Is he the best the Democrats can do?
Is he the best the Democrats can do?
Yeah, this year.
I'd always thought in a democracy, and again, I don't know, I've only lived in this country, that there's a process, what they call them, primaries.
Right.
And they don't always go with the best, but they go with whoever won. So is he the best? According to the process.
Right, but of the 9 guys running, who do you think was best? Do you think he was the best? The most impressive?
The most impressive?
Yeah.
I thought Al Sharpton was very impressive. I enjoyed his way of speaking. I think oftentimes the person that knows they can't win is allowed to speak the most freely, and because otherwise shows with titles such as Crossfire,
Breaking
or
Points,
Hardball, or I'm gonna kick your ass, or we'll jump on it. In many ways, it's funny, and I made a special effort to come on the show today because I have privately amongst my friends and also in occasional newspapers and television shows mentioned this show as being bad. And I felt that wasn't fair, and I should come here and tell you that I don't. It's not so much that it's bad as it's hurting America. So I wanted to come here today and say,
wait.
Here's just what I wanted to tell you guys.
Yeah.
Stop. Stop hurting America.
Okay, now
and come work for us, because we, as the people.
How do you pay?
The people, not well.
Better than CNN, I'm sure.
But you can sleep at night. See, the thing is, we need your help. Right now you're helping the politicians and the corporations, and we're left out there to mow our lawns.
You just said we're too rough on them when they make mistakes.
No, you're not too rough on them. You're part of their strategies. You're partisan, what do you call it, hacks.
Wait, John, let me tell you something valuable that I think we do that I'd like to see you
something
do.
Valuable?
Yeah, no, it's nice when politicians,
and
I'll tell you, when politicians come on,
yeah,
it's nice to get them to try and answer the question. And in order to do that, we try and ask them pointed questions. I want to contrast our questions with some questions you asked John Kerry.
If you want to compare your show to a comedy show, you're more than welcome to.
Here's the point.
If that's your goal,
no, it's not.
I wouldn't aim for us. I'd aim for Seinfeld.
Here's the problem.
That's a very good show.
Kerry won't come on this show. He will come on your show. Let me suggest why he wants to.
Well, we have civilized discourse.
Well, here's an example of civilized discourse. Here are 3 of the questions you asked John.
Yeah.
You have a chance to interview the Democratic nominee. You ask him questions such as, quote, how are you holding up? is it hard not to take the attacks personally?
Yeah.
Have you ever flip-flopped, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah.
Didn't you feel like you got the chance to interview the guy? Why not ask him a real question instead of just suck up to him?
Yeah, how you're holding up is a real suck-up. And I actually was giving him a hot stone massage.
It sounded that way.
As we were doing it.
It did.
You know, it's interesting to hear you talk about
I felt the
my
sparks
responsibility to the, you know, I didn't realize that, and maybe this explains quite a bit.
No, the opportunity
is that the news organizations look to Comedy Central for their cues on integrity. So what I would suggest is, when you talk about you're holding politicians' feet to the fire, I think that's disingenuous. I think you're...
How are you holding up? I mean, come on.
No. I don't. But my role isn't. I don't.
You can ask him a real question, don't you think? Instead of saying, you know.
I don't think I have to. By the way, I also asked him, you know, were you in Cambodia? But I didn't really care, because I don't care, because I think it's stupid. Well, but my point is this: if your idea of confronting me is that I don't ask hard-hitting enough news questions, we're in bad shape, fellas.
We're here to love you, not confront you.
No. But what I'm saying is this. I'm not. I'm here to confront you because we need help from the media, and they're hurting us. And it's the idea is...
If the indictment is... Let me get this straight. If the indictment is... if the indictment is, and I have seen you say this, that Crossfire reduces everything, as I said in the intro, to left, right, black, white.
Yes.
Well, it's because, see, we're a debate show. It's like saying the Weather Channel reduces
that'd be
everything
great.
to a storm front.
I would love to see a debate show.
In a 24-hour day where we have each side on as best we can get them.
That would be great.
And have them fight it out.
To do a debate would be great, but that's like saying pro wrestling is a show about athletic competition.
Sorry. I think you're a good comedian. I think your lectures are boring. Let me ask you a question on the news.
Now, this is theater. I mean, it's obvious. How old are you?
35.
And you wear a bow tie.
Yeah, I do. I do.
So this is...
No, I know.
So
You're right. No, let me just go. No, come on.
And listen, I'm not suggesting that you're not a smart guy, because those are not easy to tie. But the thing is that you're doing theater when you should be doing debate, which would be great.
No, it's
not honest. What you do is not honest. What you do is partisan hackery. And I'll tell you why I know it.
You have John Kerry on your show, and you sniff his throne, and you're accusing us of partisan hackery?
Absolutely.
You've got to be kidding, man.
You're on CNN. The show that leads into me is puppets making crank phone calls. What is wrong with you?
Well, I'm just saying, there's no reason for you, when you have this marvelous opportunity not to be the guy's butt boy, to go ahead and be his butt boy.
Yes,
It's embarrassing.
I was absolutely his butt boy. I was so far. You would not believe what he ate 2 weeks ago. You know, the interesting thing that I have is you have a responsibility to the public discourse, and you fail
need to get a job at a journalism
miserably.
School, I think.
You need to go to one. The thing that I want to say is, when you have people on for just knee-jerk, reactionary talk.
Wait, I thought you were going to be funny. Come on, be funny.
No, I'm not going to be your monkey. Go ahead. I watch your show every day, and it kills me.
I can tell you love it.
It's so painful to watch. You know, because we need what you do. This is such a great opportunity you have here to actually get politicians
really Jon
off
Stewart?
of their marketing and strategy. Yeah, it's someone who watches your show and cannot take it anymore. I just can't.
What's it like to have dinner with you? It must be excruciating. Do you like lecture people like this, or do you come over to their house and sit and lecture them, and, you know, they're not doing the right thing, that they're missing their opportunities, evading their responsibilities?
If I think they are.
Look, I wouldn't want to eat with you, man. That's horrible.
I know, and you won't. But the thing I want to get to...
We did promise naked pictures of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, we did.
No.
Let's get to those.
Why can't we just talk?
Book.
Please, I beg of you guys.
I think you watch too much Crossfire. We're going to take a quick break.
No. Look,
No, hold on.
please.
We've got commercials.
Please.
Next, Jon Stewart in the rapid fire.
Please.
Washington coming up. Used drug stories.
Was just lecturing us.
I'm sorry?
Don, you're bumming us out. Tell us, what do you think of the Bill O'Reilly vibrator story?
No.
I'm sorry? I don't.
Oh, okay.
What do you think?
Let me change the subject then.
Where's your moral outrage on this?
I don't have any.
I know.
Which candidate do you suppose would provide you better material?
I'm sorry?
Which candidate do you suppose would provide you better material if he won?
Mr. T. I think he'd be the funniest.
But you have a stake in it that way, not just a citizen, but as a professional comic.
Right, which I hold to be much more important than as a citizen.
Well, there you go. Well, who would provide you better material, do you suppose?
I don't really know. It's kind of not how we look at it. We look at the absurdity of the system provides us the most material, and that is best served by sort of the theater of it all, you know, which, by the way,
thank you both, because it's been helpful.
But if Kerry gets elected, is it good? I mean, you said you're voting for him. You obviously support him. It's clear. Will it be harder for you to mock his administration if he becomes president?
Now, why would it be harder?
Because
the only way it would be harder is if his administration is less absurd than this one. So in that case, if it's less absurd, then yeah, I think it'd be harder. But I mean, it'd be hard to top this group. I mean, quite frankly, in terms of absurdity and their world matching up to the one that, you know, it was interesting. President Bush was saying, you know, John Kerry, his rhetoric doesn't match his record. But I've heard President Bush describe his record. His record doesn't match his record. So, you know, I don't worry about it in that respect. But let me ask you guys again a question, because we talked a little bit about, you know, you're actually doing honest debate and all that. But after the debates, where do you guys head to right afterwards?
The men's room.
Right after that.
Right, home.
Spin Alley.
Home?
No, Spin Alley.
What are you talking about? You mean at these debates?
Yeah, you go to Spin Alley, the place called Spin Alley.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't you think that for people watching at home, that's kind of a drag, that you're literally walking to a place called Deception Lane? Like, it's Spin Alley. It's don't you see, that's the issue I'm trying to talk to you guys?
I actually believe, I had a lot of friends who worked for President Bush. I went to college with
Neither of us was ever in the spin room, actually.
No, I did. I went to Larry King's show. They actually believe what they're saying. They want to persuade you. That's what they're trying to do by spinning. But I don't doubt for a minute these people who work for President Bush, who I disagree with and everything, they believe that stuff, John. This is not a lie or deception at all.
I think they believe
in him.
I think they believe,
just like I believe in my guys.
I think they believe President Bush would do a better job, and I believe the Kerry guys believe President Kerry would do a better job. But what I believe is they're not making honest arguments. So what they're doing is, in their mind, the ends justify the means.
I hate the show at all. I do think you're more fun on your show. Just my opinion.
But
okay, Jon Stewart goes one-on-one with his fans.
You're as big a dick on your show as you are on any show.
Now you're getting into it. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Eastern.
Anyway, true. Looking forward to that energy here.
Wanted to highlight them on today's program. So let me get to them right now. We'll discuss all things left, right, populist, and otherwise. Please welcome to the program the hosts of Breaking Points. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are, the final weekly show podcast before summer break. And we have the co-hosts of Breaking Points, Crystal Ball and Sagar and Jetty, are joining us today to discuss all that is happening in the world. First of all, welcome, Crystal. Welcome, Sagar.
Thank you so much for having us, John.
Thanks for having us.
I want to start by saying I don't feel comfortable seeing you two in separate spaces.
We had a debate about that, actually, but it just was a little bit technically easier this way. So I'm sorry that we made you uncomfortable.
And same for you to see you at home in a T-shirt. It's throwing me off from my childhood.
Oh, dear God. If only you knew, Sagar, how painful it was for me to put on the suit for my 20 minutes a day and all that. That's actually why I left the show in 2015. I just decided, hey, man.
I couldn't take that anymore.
I'm done with the button down. This is over. But we're delighted that you're both here. And I want to ask you, because you're such an interesting dynamic. As you guys have worked together, do you find that your political opinions are starting to converge? Because I think the point of it is sort of at a guy a little bit on the right. You know, Sagar, you'd worked at Daily Caller, you'd done something with Crystal, more on the left. But as I listen to you guys, I find there is a great deal, not just of respect, but convergence. And I can't think of another show where sort of the idea is to get those contrasting viewpoints that has had that. Is that how you're experiencing it?
I would say it depends very much on the moment of the news cycle. Yeah. So if you had been watching us regularly leading up to Trump's victory or after Trump's victory, when we were talking about immigration and mass deportation and CCOT, or even today we had a big debate about like woke 1.0, you might get a different impression. But the concept of the show, you know, from the beginning, even predating the current iteration of Breaking Points, was, okay, if we got the best faith interpretation of the populist right in conversation with the populist left, what would that look like? And my theory is that there would be different overlap than you might find on sort of the traditional like Crossfire, to name a throwback.
I just got something just back of the neck, hairs.
The typical Crossfire sort of cable news dynamic. And so I think that's what you're picking up on. And certainly on the Iran war, on changing the relationship with Israel, on, you know, economic issues, there is a lot of overlap there.
I think the thing you said, Crystal, that resonates the most with me is best faith,
Mhm.
good faith. I think, and Sagar, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I think that's what you're picking up on.
It might not be a convergence of opinion. It's that it's a
Sagar guy.
good faith.
This guy is such a fucking disgusting sweep fuck, and Crystal is just as bad.
Discussion.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we both really built our show around is like a rejection of cable news and just not only the format, but the very way in which they want to increase division. And we have plenty of division, which we showcase very openly and honestly, as you just pointed out, Crystal, about our Woke 1.0 debate. But in it, there was a good faith. I mean, Crystal heard me out and I heard her out and we gave our counterpoints and there was no like yelling or screaming at each other. I also, whenever you're talking about convergence, I think that one of the things that really comes with respect is understanding. And so we've been doing this, not just this show, but our previous iteration of the show for almost like 7 or 8 years now.
What was the first one?
Rising.
It was Rising.
That's it, Rising.
Over
Yeah.
at the Hill. And one of the things that comes with that is you come to understand very deeply where other people are coming from. And it's really useful because it helps not only in your interactions politically, but like even in your everyday life. Like when you hear somebody say something, you can understand where previously it would have been like, what an idiot. You're like, okay, I see how you got to that conclusion because of the information you took in, or your worldview is just fundamentally really different than my worldview. And there's a level of acceptance with that. One of the best compliments that we both get, if we're in public or something, is like, you really helped my relationship with my dad. You just helped me understand like where my dad was coming
Right.
from. Whenever he would rant about X, Y, and Z, like I understood why, and then or vice versa, like help my relationship with my kid, and like my kid's really into DSA, and like I don't understand,
Right.
what that is. But when I hear Crystal talk about it, it's like, okay, like I kind of start to make sense to me. And so, in that way, it's really edifying, and part of the reason why I love doing the show.
As you've come together, and now it's been, as you said, I think 7 years, or does it help you also identify the bad faith actors in our political and media hellscape? Has there
Absolutely.
been a way for you to discern, these people are performative, these people are bad faith? And do you avoid that now, avoid those folks, or do you expose? What's your...
Both.
It's a mix. Yeah. I mean, definitely. That is certainly the case. And look, I have become less tolerant of a lot of pundits on the right. There are very few who are actually on the right that I would work with at this point, because I just think there's so much lies and propaganda there that to deal with that on a daily basis would not be productive. If you're doing a debate and you're having engagement, you're trying to expose, that's one thing. But to work together with someone every day, as you know, is an entirely different relationship. So, for example, in the wake of your John Fetterman interview, I don't think that is someone I could work with every day. Because there's
John Fetterman? I'm not sure John Fetterman is working with John Fetterman every day.
just bad faith arguments, a lack of an ability to really even grapple with the questions that you're asking, et cetera.
Yeah.
But what has made it work with Sagar is we've had some very heated debates, very hot.
Sagar hates Israel, right? Is my guess. So is that so? They at least they align on a lot of anti-establishment. I actually don't know. My guess is he does, but I don't actually know.
And over issues that we both care a lot about and I think are very consequential. What makes it work over the long term is that we're both capable of saying, you know what, I got it wrong there. You were right. You had a point. And I think over the long term, that's part of what has built the trust that enables it.
I totally agree. And it's like, vice versa, I think, especially at the height of a lot of pretty crazy moments, 2020 and others, there are not a lot of people, I think, who I could have stomached. But yeah, I mean, as Crystal said, it can get hot, and that's fine. I actually think it's healthy. It's normal. It's reflective of literally the nature of the country. We're literally living through one of the most tumultuous times, I think, in modern American history. It's probably akin to the 1960s in a lot of different ways. Or actually, maybe the 70s is a better comparison.
Here's what's sad. I think I'm the only one who's lived through both of those.
That's true. I've only read about it, John.
If you have any questions, I am happy.
One of the things that would be cool if like these were like real people and this wasn't like bow tie wearing performances is like, well, no, because it wouldn't be worth asking these fucking losers. Like these are, in my opinion, as somebody that does media or whatever the fuck you say I do, right? The question of like, how do you determine who's bad faith? What does it mean to engage with somebody who's bad faith? How do you determine like these actually are interesting questions, I think, that are ripe for conversating. You can talk a lot about them, and it would be interesting to hear the process by which how you figure out what you want to talk about and what you don't want to talk about. But technically, for these guys, there is no process. They just shop for people who agree with them politically, and then they push the partisan hack political program they want, just like the Crossfire people did. And then that's the extent of their engagement for figuring out what's good faith or bad faith. So I guess technically there wouldn't be anything he could ask them because I wouldn't give a fuck how they'd answer. But I mean, like even the answers they gave for what this show is supposed to be were, I don't know, what did you say? I can't deal with Fetterman because he's bad faith because he can't answer your questions. Okay.
I'm happy to tell you about it.
Right, but I mean, John, since you were there, you
Yes.
know that was a moment of very actually limited public debate. And in my opinion, one of the reasons why things went really wrong was because of the convergence of the mass media era. Like for me, this is honestly surreal to be able to talk to you because you were so instrumental for me as a kid who is growing up in bush country hearing these lies about the Iraq War, there is only one place that I could go to expose like this level of hysteria and nonsense, which I just hear propagated all day long on all three cable networks. And that was at a time of total ubiquity in mass media, part of the reason that we got into the war that we did. And it went as long as we did. I think that the Iran war is a disaster.
How long, though? By the time we got to Obama, like, his election was like a referendum on Middle Eastern wars. Like, how much are we pretending that all of American society was like super pro-Iraq war for a decade after... what was Iraq? Was 2003? Like, Obama was 2008? Like, I mean, the American media definitely was hyped up on that shit initially, for sure. But I mean, it was also the biggest terrorist attack in fucking U.S. history, which was...
But it is a hopeful story in that the poll numbers went south immediately. A huge amount of the American public is getting their information from sources or, different from sources like us, many others who are out there who are able to expose the absolute holes in all of the propaganda that the Pentagon or the White House is able to put out. And so, look, it's a disaster that we're in this, but it's actually a hopeful story that the public turned on it almost immediately. And so that we didn't have that edifice to prop it up that we did at that time.
Well, let me
imagine comparing the two. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know. I just can't defend the Iraq war in 2003 or whatever. I can't defend that. But if I was tasked for defending either the Iraq war or the second war that we did with Iran, that would be the easiest thing in the world. Saddam Hussein had already been involved in the Gulf War in 91, and the only reason we didn't kick his ass out is because we didn't want the world to think that after the fall of the Soviet Union, we were going to replace every single person on the planet with a Western-aligned dictator. He'd already engaged in chemical warfare against Kurdish people. He wasn't cooperating as much as he should have been with weapons inspectors and people from the UN. There was still decent conflict, I believe, with Iraq and Iran. There was still the oppression of, it would have been of the Ba'ath government, though I think it was supposed to be secular, but I think it was the Sunnis in charge, the Shia people there. Like, Saddam Hussein was a fucking madman, crazy lunatic. There was an operational success there of we could just go in and remove the leader. Now, obviously, staying afterwards. But like, compare the Iraq war and then the fallout related to that to like, well, why did we do an existential war with Iran? I honest to fucking God can't tell you why. I have no fucking idea. I don't even know how the fuck. So to be like, well, look at how quickly we turned on Iran. Like, wasn't it good that we rejected that war so quickly? I mean, like, yeah, but this is like the worst war in all of American history. How is that? The real litmus test would have been we didn't elect Trump because we knew that he was fucking crazy so that we wouldn't be in this war with Iran. This is the second time, by the way, in his second term. It was 2 times his term because we bombed him once and then we did it a second time. And it's like, wow, good job, alternative media for... Like, this is a self-suck right now.
That's your question because it brings up sort of the incentives of those systems that created that. Because I think you make a nice point about the 60s.
Like, if alternative media would have had any level of credibility, then this Sager guy would be a shit stain on a newspaper that nobody would ever remember again because all these motherfuckers were all keen on electing Trump and getting him into office a second time. Fuck you. Why the fuck would you pat yourself on the back for not seeing the train coming down the tracks, blaring its fucking horn at you? I don't understand how he's giving himself credit for that. That's crazy.
70s being tumultuous in that same way. I think the Iran war has gone south in some ways because this administration doesn't respect us enough to lie to us.
Yeah.
They kind of don't give a shit.
There's nothing that you could even remote. The thing is, people compare things. I don't know how to explain the layman's disease or whatever. Like somebody is like at the hospital and they drink I don't know what they drink before they do their fucking colonoscopy. You drink some drink or whatever. And then like somebody's at home and they pour, I don't know, Freon into their fucking car's air conditioner. And then somebody's like, this is just like drinking stuff for the colonoscopy at the hospital because it's like the water goes in a thing. It's just like the most retarded fucking comparison in the world. Why are we comparing our whatever the fuck we're in right now with Iran with Iraq? It's a totally different set of facts. It's a totally different geopolitical situation. It's a totally different war strategy. It's a different administration. Like, every single thing about this is different. Like, the comparison here is such a surface level. Like, man, I think that like Vietnam was bad because like war is bad and like that, and so Korea and Iraq, and then like Yugoslavia because we bombed stuff. And it's just like there's no facts. Like, who are these people? Like, where's the educated like analysis of any of the facts of what's happening? Like, I think that it's a bad thing because it's like, and the media tells us it's bad, and we didn't fall for it this time. Yeah, you didn't fall for it because it's a totally different thing.
I think the Iran war has gone south in some ways because this administration doesn't respect us enough to lie to us.
Yeah.
They kind of don't give a shit what we think. And in the 60s and 70s, the lies were generally, media has found a way, the incentives of it, to get weaponized. Bad faith actors weaponize it, right? The ubiquity of cable news was at first, and TV in general, in the 60s and 70s, politicians weren't quite sure what to do with TV. And you remember the debate between Kennedy and Nixon. And Kennedy went out there and he understood that television is a visual medium. And Nixon was like, I don't need makeup. I look great.
Sweaty and clammy.
Right.
Yeah.
And he got his ass kicked on the TV side. But if you listen to it on the radio, people thought Nixon won. Do you think it's, in some respects, the media has just, politics has figured out how to weaponize media? Is that fair to say? Like you just talked about all these bad faith actors, right?
Mm-hmm.
They exist as part of a political ecosystem, as a way of, Roger Ailes very famously said, I want to create something so that what happened to Nixon could never happen to another Republican president. Sometimes we separate media and politics, but isn't it true that in a lot of ways, there's a symbiosis? A lot of it's been co-opted by politics. And I'm curious what you think of that. And we can talk a little bit about breaking down those ecosystems.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, absolutely. And the amount of propaganda, the amount of lies, you go on Twitter, now X, and there's all these accounts that are just AI slop accounts feeding all kinds of nonsense. It makes it very difficult actually to sort out what's happening in the war, not to mention there's a total censorship lockdown on the U.S. as part of what is happening in the region. On the flip side of it, though, there's also a hopeful story there because in its best incarnation, they haven't been able to cover up the horrors and genocide. People watched that in 4K themselves, and they took their own moral opinion of what was happening there, and it went directly against what the bipartisan elite consensus had been for years and years. I think you're right that it's insulting that they didn't even bother to lie to us this time before the war. I think it also reflects
the bipartisan elite consensus. Oh my God, true, great media takes. Wow.
Fact that Donald Trump doesn't feel that he needs to go through the mechanisms of democracy. We just have to swallow whatever insanity he's going to do. But I also think the fact that you have so many dissenting voices in new media that were critical from the beginning and able to expose the very thin level of propaganda that had been fed to us has also been a positive point. Now,
multiple people at Breaking Points voted for Trump from the beginning. Why do you guys watch this shit? If nobody can be ahead of the curve, if these guys are just here, you're like a one-day historian. Like, that's what all of political commentary has turned into. They're here to tell you what happened over the last 24 hours, and then that's it. Why not try to have a position ahead of things where you could say there's a lot of reasons to think why if you would support Donald Trump now, he would probably do some crazy fuck shit in his second term based on what he did last time. Wouldn't that be the test of a media figure? Maybe.
Get concerned because there are also legacy media has its.
I don't know how Sager can be out here patting himself on the back when he voted for Donald Trump and enthusiastically supported him in 2024. How could you possibly give yourself credit for that?
Advantages. There was a real tradition and a firewall between opinion and the journalist part and the advertising, and those walls fall down in new media. But overall, I think when you look at those two stories in particular, you can see that it has helped to create a better atmosphere for small d democratic understanding of what these wars and what this genocide actually are.
I think that's a really important point. It's a double-edged sword, as Crystal said. I compare it to the invention of the printing press. I mean, that's how the internet. I mean, seriously, that's what.
And it's it's like the printing, but it's like the same. It's just like the repeated. My brain is just mush.
The
old
internet.
School.
Yeah, because, what did that actually do? Is it decentralized media? We literally had something called a 100 years war, a Protestant, Reformation, chaos, millions of people died. But of course, nobody would say, well, yeah, the invention of the printing press was bad. It was just, it unleashed a new medium of debate. Much of it was propaganda, actually pornography, one of the original inventions of the printing press of mass distribution, just like the internet. But what it demonstrated, I think, on a long enough timeline was a more informed public. And that's the thing, we're working things out, as Crystal said. And this is where I think all of us can be upfront and honest. We are in a difficult position because we are people who do the news, but Crystal and I are also business owners. We co-own our company. But we set, rules at the very beginning. We do not read ads, period, because we believe that if we did so, it could potentially compromise things in the future. Now, we know that we have sacrificed literally multiple zeros of income. However, what we decided instead was to build a more anti-fragile business. For example, we have a premium subscription program, we have YouTube revenue, we have dynamic ads, which are not ads that we read, which we have no negotiation or interest in.
Oh my God. They have some kind of automated ad fill system. Oh, you guys are so good. I don't believe in sponsors because I don't want that to influence my... Please wait for 1 second for the 3-minute YouTube ad pre-roll system. Sorry, that's just YouTube AdSense, But anyway, we don't believe... Welcome to the automatic insertion from the podcast network. Okay, am I back? Okay, sorry. So we don't read ads because we don't want that to compromise our business.
But it took a level of intentionality. However, though, there's no reason that we had to do that. If we wanted to read Manscaped ads, we could.
And most people are not doing that and are not going to do that.
No.
Yeah.
And most people are not doing that and are much richer than
Like, that's so principle. I would hate to think that they would invite some congressman up here and give him an unfair interview because he thought his pubes were too long, because Manscaped was influencing the quality of their political work.
As a result. But we believe in the long run it'll work out.
You're starting to make me sweat, and it's why I look to Quince. Hey, folks, I know you're trying to figure out ways to skip through these little ad reads here. I get that. I know what you're doing. I know you're looking into that Spotify thing. Listen, I'm not blind, you bastards. And to be honest with you, I'm not crazy about reading them in the first place, generally, except for this one, ground news. I'm always going to go to bat for the ground news. Ground news, because it's... I hate the news. I hate what it's doing to me emotionally. I hate that you don't really know where the information is coming from sometimes. You don't know how it's being manipulated. And it adds to the creeping fog of sadness that grows. But I have to keep up. I have to understand what's going on in the world. And that's why ground news, they've got a website. It's an app. You can see how different news outlets will frame the same story. They've got a blind spot feed so you can challenge yourself about your news consumption. To get the same unlimited access to the Vantage subscription, go to groundnews.com/Stewart and subscribe to get 40% off. Discount only available for a limited time. That's groundnews.com/Stewart, or scan the QR code on screen.
Crazy.
Sagar, so this is really interesting to me because we're talking about media independence.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think of independence, I think writ large, you think of it as media independence from corporate interest.
Mm-hmm.
We're not owned by Universal or GE or any of these things. But independence is also, are you independent from a political motivation?
Yes.
That's another form of independence, and a lot of people, I think, are captured by that. But the third avenue of independence, and I wonder about this for you, is what are your incentives to the audience?
Yeah.
When you say we have a subscription model and all that.
Oh, actual good question. I wonder if we'll get an interesting answer.
And do the incentives of, look, we all know in an attention economy, what sells the most is probably outrage, anger, and those things. So how do you, in your model, avoid being captured by the rage of the townspeople? How do you avoid pitchforks and torches?
Well, that's why we're really blessed, honestly. It's a right-left show. So, at any given time, a decent portion of the audience is mad.
What are the other of us?
It works well.
It works really well. So
we're going to be hated no matter what by some portion, yeah.
Perfect.
We are very often hated by our own paying... We might have one of the most ignominious, honors of being often hated by the people who pay us. But that's built in, as I said. So at various different times, we've gone through these, types of events before. People are mad that you said X, Y, or Z. But because of our political independence and the right-left kind of dynamic that is baked into the heart of the program, it means that there are always new people who also show up. That's one of the things where a lot of and you actually can see this, there's a lot of articles about MAGA media and how it's collapsing. As enthusiasm in MAGA and the project with Donald Trump, especially with younger men, starts to go down, people who went all in on just Trump alone or on right-wing so-called media are seeing a dramatic reduction in their overall revenue and views, because that's just not really what people want to hear right now. That is just not something that could ever happen to us, because Crystal would always represent a side of somebody who's critical of MAGA, right? Or, even I am, obviously, as well, but vice versa, let's say whenever Joe Biden was president. And so we're very lucky, honestly, in the way that we designed everything. But what you're laying out is a very real problem, and it explains grifterism, which is basically people who have to continue it going, manufacture and create new type of controversies purely for an economic incentive, which is enough of a cancer that we have today.
Yeah, audience capture is very real. You can kind of, if you're watching channels closely, you can tell who's just catering to their audience and what they think, an algorithm wants them to produce. But I also want to say, with regard to the fury and the pitchforks, I think people have good reason to be furious right now. I think both on an economic level, we've been thrust into this war that basically no one wanted, that is devastating for the global economy. It's first and foremost devastating for Iranian civilians. We have had our taxpayer dollars used to fund a genocide that, again, the public has vociferously turned against. And we have a system that is rigged by an oligarch class. So I think talking about those things, the way that the AI oligarchs literally want to take everyone's jobs, people should get angry about that. Those are things that should infuriate you. And so we don't shy away from that. I think to be informed right now is to be angry and furious about the state of affairs.
I agree.
Let me ask you, because it's such an interesting thing to point out how many real things there are that can shock the conscience of people. And yet, I think if I'm being fair about where the real energy of the debate is right now, it's whether or not Enes Kanter is going to get drafted into the WNBA. Like, the real outrage in this country and culture doesn't seem to be about those very real points you just articulated, Kristen.
Well, and to me, Sagar may have a different take on this, but to me, it's very obvious what's going on here. Trump's approval is in the toilet. His war is a disaster. The economic numbers are trash. People are furious. Republicans,
I think it's the greatest economy this country's ever had.
I forgot
Crystal.
about that. Yes. According to Fox News, absolutely. And Republicans are facing what is likely to be a landslide defeat in the midterms. So what are they doing? They're going back to the culture war bag of tricks. Here's a shiny object that I can dangle over at Fox News to get our own base back in line. But I actually don't think that that's what's driving, for example, the electoral results that we're seeing in Democratic primaries across the country and likely to see in the general election in the fall. There, to me, the number one issue is very likely the economy, but it's also horror at a foreign policy that is both expensive and deeply immoral.
Yeah, John, I would push back a bit. I agree with you.
What? How dare you, sir?
Well, I just think it's reflective, maybe, of a cable news bias, because you're right. I believe the WNBA was the second most mentioned topic on Fox News this week. And that's probably true of the 65-plus crowd, if I were to go and ask them. However, the segments that perform best on our channel are things about the housing crisis, are about flock cameras, data centers, AI displacement and job loss, foreign policy. I mean, I never thought I would have my dream job of being able to speak to guys like Professor John Mearsheimer, who is my literal idol, for over like an hour and a half, and have him describe like great power politics and the Iran war, and watch millions of people want to engage with that type of content. And so I do think, like, look, are we amusing ourselves to death? Empirically, yes. I mean, not just in terms of sports, but with gambling and many of the other vices which are exploding in our current society. However, what we always also point out on the show, that is derivative of real problems like housing, which is the one I would say we see the most consistent rage in terms of not just our audience, but in our demographic, and is like downstream of so many of the other problems that we face like as a society.
Can I also just say, Don, that I think, too, the revelation, this will feel like a bit of a left turn, but the revelations in the Epstein files of the way that this powerful elite actually has this incredible class solidarity and the way that they operate, I think it's blown some of the lid off of this idea that, what we should really be focused on is trans people or these culture war debates, because we've been
really
able to
be focused on the important thing, like
way
the Epstein
the powerful
files.
actually work in the world and the view that they have of the rest of us. And so I think that has been a very educational and illuminating experience for people, as well as they process
more like
some
Illuminati.
of these new
Am I right?
red meat culture war debates that are thrown into the mix.
Yeah, it's just hard to imagine, when we talk about it and the importance of it, all these things that you're bringing up are truly important. And yet there's been no accountability for any of it.
Correct.
And it seems like what there is accountability for, either legislatively or otherwise, are culture war issues that, like, I'll give you an example, the SAVE Act being, at the forefront of so much of the problems that were going on in the Senate right now. And the liberals, they want illegals who are voting in millions of numbers not to, show an ID, just utter nonsense that gets thrown out there, or the trans debate as being at the forefront of what's in everybody's minds about like nuance is utterly removed through the process of our media and our politics. Yet the things that you talk about that are facing Americans or are making them question the legitimacy of our institutions are never addressed, seemingly with no accountability.
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of the core of our show.
Can I give you another example
Please.
of that, John, which is very much top of news cycle right now? So there's this whole controversy about Hassan Piker and whether or not candidates should associate with him. And Abdullah Syed famously had a rally with him, so he's being targeted right now as like, how dare you associate with this guy who said all these terrible things? The clip that they usually point to is where he says that we, quote unquote, deserve 9/11. He's talking about the concept of blowback, and for which he has since apologized. Meanwhile, Abdullah...
Why did he apologize? We were just talking about the concept of blowback, though. Nobody has ever explained that to me. Why did he apologize? If he was just talking about blowback. I've never understood that one.
Syed is running against a guy who literally was in Congress after 9/11, who authorized the Iraq War, who supported mass surveillance.
Yeah, he's the Republican. We don't want to support that stuff. That's the stuff we don't like.
Who defended torture, but that guy's fine. But associating with someone...
We don't care if he associates with Hassan. Hassan can go campaign with the Republican. That's... What is this fucking comparison? What the fuck?
Who said something that was edgy one time.
Oh my God, dude. I'm just fucking kill me, dude. Fuck this. Oh my God. It's so shameless. How do you compete with this level of ghoulery? With this gabagool? With this shamelessness? Shamelessness.
That's what's out of bounds. That's what should be off limits. That's not just me, but I think most people is insane.
Well, I'll do you one better. J.D. Vance's spiritual advisor, you know, the preacher that J.D. Vance considers one of his sort of spiritual advisors, talks about male dominion over women. You know, there are all kinds of extremes in terms of association. I remember with Obama.
Just think about, though, the contrast between Hassan Piker said a thing in response to 9/11 versus this guy actually was in power.
He's the Republican. We don't want to vote for him. We're not voting for him. We don't think he's fine. We're voting against him. Why are you making the comparison to him?
And was involved in the horrific lies leading up to
We agree with that. Fuck that guy. That's why we're Democrats and not fucking Republicans.
Or the authorization of the war, the
Sure.
torture, the murder of Iraqi civilians. And so when you talk about accountability, where is the accountability for that?
None.
Where's the moral weight on that?
They're Republicans. They have no morality. They're demons. Ask your fucking co-host. Dude, I don't understand. Like, this is like when she really thought she was cooking. When she was like, well, we vote to give weapons to Israel. Why don't we vote to give weapons to Iran?
Versus,
None.
I mean, many of these guys that were villains on your show when you were covering the Iraq War are still around today to propagandize us and push us in the Iran War. So I think that lack of accountability you point to is a big failing in our society. And in my opinion, it has to be corrected in the next administration. People have to go to prison for the crimes that were committed, whether it's rogue ICE agents, whether it's insider trading within this regime. That has to happen for us to reestablish anything approaching a healthy society.
And I will say, John, for me, I know I'm with two liberals here, so I'm trying to pick my battles.
How dare you call me a liberal?
Sorry, a leftist and a liberal. A leftist and a liberal.
Yep,
I'm
that's true.
gonna have to I'm gonna have to check on that JD Vance spiritual advisor one.
Hegseth spiritual
okay,
advisor.
I was
sorry.
gonna say, I was like, I'm fairly certain that's not true.
That was Hegseth, but J.D. Vance was Peter Thiel, who, when asked by Ross Douthat, should human beings continue to exist, paused for like 8 seconds to be like, I don't know about humans, and like has unbelievably, this the other people that are in those orbits. My point being, guilt by association, which is often thrown in Democrats' faces, whether it was Obama's spiritual advisor, can be thrown into the right's faces, but it never seems to be done in
That's
that way.
fair. What was it? Pastor Wright? Is that right? Pastor Wright? Now that I think about it,
We're not voting for the Republican. Why the fuck would we care who he associates himself with? We're not voting for him. I don't know what to... I don't understand what point. Am I lost? Hello?
Yes,
Pastor Wright. That was a long time ago.
Oh, with Obama you're talking about?
Anyway, I think the vein I'm picking up on, and this is where I would say this is like the great disappointment, political disappointment of my life. As I said, I was inspired to get involved in politics because of Iraq. And the centerpiece of the 2024 campaign, and it's fair for people to say that you were fooled, was no more foreign wars. I mean, the vice president, as you said, wrote an op-ed endorsing Trump. Trump's best legacy, no new wars.
He is just pointing out the double standard, no? It's not a double standard when you're talking about two different people. They're Republicans. They're probably in favor of all the fucking torture shit. Of course they would have a different standard on that set of things. What do you mean?
Stephen Miller famously said, Kamala will send your sons to war. A significant contingent in the 2024 campaign was, we are not going to war with Iran. And so to live in a reality where Trump dastardly and disgracefully attacks Iran under the cover of negotiations twice, kills 168 schoolgirls.
I wonder what he thinks about, was he in favor of the first attack, saying that we needed to do it to get rid of the nukes? Sagar on Iran attack. What was the date? 5 months ago. The sad thing is, I don't even know if that was the first or second one. How long have we been in our 3-week war with Iran right now? June. Wait, no, wait. When did U.S. attack Iran? 2026. Need to specify the year. February? Holy fuck. This is the longest 3 weeks ever. Oh my God. This is in March. I'm just curious what he said. This was the second one. This was the second attack. So he should be by now for sure. And then we'll go. And then after he says on this one, this is a catastrophe. He was the president of known wars. I can't believe he did this. We'll go back and we'll see what he said for the first one.
Interceptors are a real problem. We don't have enough to combat the missiles and the drones that the Iranians are unleashing, not just on us, but on our military bases in the Gulf countries and on the Gulf countries themselves, our allies who we've agreed to protect. And some of them have come saying, did you give any thought to what would happen to us? Did you plan on how to protect us as we're seeing bombs rain down on Dubai, for example, which is taking a lot of incoming, many of our other friends in the Middle East who are genuinely friends of ours and great trading partners who are now feeling exposed and like we didn't live up to our promises, not to mention all the problems you mentioned because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. And Pete Hegseth says that we did plan on the closure, or what would happen in the Strait of Hormuz. But if we did plan, then why is it closed? Why can't we get ships through there? Why can't commercial vessels get through right now? President Trump throughout will have the U.S. Navy escort ships that want to go through it, but that quickly went away because he was reportedly told we are actually not ready to do that. Our military can't do that. And there was also blowback on whether American parents want to see their sons and daughters on U.S. ships risking their lives to get oil through the Strait of Hormuz to send off to China. Is that really the mission? And all in the name of Israel, by the way. It's not even for a war that's helping the United States. So it's right now we're not doing that. So the Iranians do have an effective veto over this. And there's a real question about how we ever can secure it. How can we? Because they've got potentially mines set up in the Strait. They've also got missile launchers on the shores that are proving problematic for us. And I've heard credible military experts say, without sending ground troops in to go stand along the shorelines of the Straits, we're not going to be able to secure this in a way that's going to satisfy commercial shippers.
You're exactly right. And guess what? By the way, even for those military experts, I hope that they also informed you that if you want to put troops on the shoreline, then you also have to have troops in the rear to make sure that nobody can fire on the troops on the shoreline. So that would be a massive deployment. This is the escalation trap that Professor Robert Pape talked about.
Did you know? And by the way, if you put troops on the ground, you're going to have to give them food. Did you know that? And by the way, when you put troops there, did you know that they need to sleep? So you also got to have beds for them. They need a place to rest. Did you know that?
Is that you find yourself in an unexpected situation politically. What did LBJ often say? I'm not going to be the first American president to lose a damn war. That's what we would often say in a situation room. He would push them to escalate. And at every point, we would say, okay, let's send more American blood into the battlefield, and that will change it this time. And at every point, what we found out is that we were losing strategically while allegedly winning tactically. And that's what actually a full-blown ground troop invasion of Iran and securing of the Strait of Hormuz, that would be the definition of a supposedly tactical success. Because even at that point, let's think about what the cost of that would be, not just for the sustained deployment, the political and strategic implications. So yeah, we might lower the price of gas, but now we're in a multi-decade occupation of the country of Iran and fighting an insurgency with a civil war and a collapse of the state and a refugee crisis, which is flooding the entire region. So that's why you don't get into these damn things in the first place. And I'm very worried. I do not see a way that this president will be able to get himself out.
I'm very worried. Okay.
Out of this one without.
That's the thing. So, no one doubts. I think few doubt that Trump doesn't want that. That he thought this could be quick. Cut off the head of the snake, and we're gonna have a better Iran. He definitely doesn't want some extended Middle East war. Trump does know that would be a political death knell to any future Republican election over the next 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 years.
Listen to how it's always fun watching conservatives talk to themselves. It's kind of like listening to. Like imagine if you had like serial killers, like child serial killers that were like plotting like the best way to torture and murder children. That's what it's like listening to conservatives talk. Like a war with Iran, closing the Strait of Hormuz, nuclear weapons, like worldwide security. Imagine how that would affect us in the midterms. Like she is hellspawn. This woman is, both of them are, but especially Megyn Kelly. My God.
If you doubt that Trump doesn't want that he thought this could be quick, cut off the head of the snake, and we're gonna have a better Iran. He definitely doesn't want some extended Middle East war. Trump does know that would be a political death knell to any future Republican election over the next 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 years. But the risk is that we're saddled with it because how are we gonna reopen the Straits of Hormuz? Like, what is the plan to do that? Are we actually going to risk American lives by escorting commercial vessels through there? What are we gonna do about mines? Are we gonna risk American service personnel getting blown up in the name of reopening this passageway? And by the way, what is the American appetite for the loss of blood and treasure over there? It was one thing when we had Al-Qaeda killing 3,000 Americans one day who just went to work. It's another when we started it. And the basis for starting it, which I'm gonna get to in a second, is really, really questionable. Let me make one point first. Now we have
questionable.
13 dead U.S. service personnel.
This is the second one, by the way. This is the second war thing, whatever you want to fucking call these things now.
Which is the same number that died at Abbey Gate, Sagar. And after we had Abbey Gate under President Biden, where he tried to pull all the troops out of Afghanistan, it was a disaster and it wasn't well run. And we had people holding on to our airplanes as they were flying out of Bagram, which we gave up the base. His approval rating fell and it never recovered. It never recovered. Here's a chart that shows.
They're really on this. Oh my God.
Where it went down and it never went back up. And that's the last thing. Now we've got 13.
That's the last thing we want. It's the approval rating to go down. Holy shit.
1 week into the war, a week plus. Where does that go? Right? Because
great.
Wars, it's not easy to predict how the deaths are going to happen. This was a refueling plane, Sagar. It wasn't even shot down by the Iranians. It wasn't even, it was an accident midair that wasn't brought down by friendly fire or enemy.
Right, remember this, guys. Nobody in August 1914 said, we're still going to be at war in 4 years. The plan was for a 6-week quick war, an excursion, all like the ones that we had seen before. This is why, by the way, I think that the Venezuela operation ended up being a nightmare, because it convinced the president and many of the inner circle of those around him that that's how easy all military operations could be. And I opposed that vehemently at the time, and I think it looks pretty good in retrospect. Is that at this mindset of this madness, right, of just we can go in and we can do whatever we want. Well, we've all seen, there's a lot of military history books that are behind me.
I opposed it at the time, but now I'm in favor of it because it turned out okay. Time, you remember, just as a quick thing, okay? Time only goes in one direction in all worlds, okay? It only goes in one direction.
The way the great men operate, we can all understand this. It's like a gambler at the craps table who's on a hot roll. Statistically, it shouldn't be working, but it's working, and it's working, and it's working. But eventually, the 7 is going to come up, and that's exactly what has happened now in this Iran conflict. So you just laid out the Straits of Hormuz. I have bigger questions about, not just that's an economic question. I have a question specifically about Iranian missile development the longer that this goes on. Because then the entire raison d'etre for this war, the casus belli, is supposedly nuclear material. Well, by the Trump administration's own admission that nuclear material has not been secured. How do you secure it? Oh, you're going to have to send special operations. Problem, the Iranians know you're coming. So to protect those special operations, you'd have to deploy a large ground force to secure the entire area, to battle all of the people who would want to target your special operators while they're going to securing
in modern day warfare with satellites.
Exactly. Right, exactly. So think about the nightmare and the logistical implications of each of these supposedly easy off-ramps. So the off-ramp here, Trump can go get the nuclear material and declare victory. Oh wait, but that's going to take a titanic, potential American ground deployment, thousands of troops, who knows how many casualties. He needs to secure the Straits of Hormuz. Great. Now we just signed up for a huge nation building and or exercise. Nobody in the Iraq War. I mean, do you remember Donald Rumsfeld? He said, I don't know if it'll take 6 days, 6 weeks or 6 months, but I can tell you it's not going to be more than a year. I remember all of these things. Yeah, I mean, Dick Cheney said that about Iraq. Nobody in 2001, October of 01, would have said we're withdrawing from Afghanistan in 2021. You think LBJ wanted to be in Vietnam in 1968? That's the point of all of these examples, is that you get into them and they become open-ended even when you wanted it closed, because you are no longer in a controlled system. We could control the diplomacy between these two nations, but we cannot control this now, especially with Iran in the classic situation of asymmetric warfare, but with nothing to lose. They have nothing to lose except to fight to the death. They have a hardened political will. Their population was supposed to rise up. It didn't happen. Totally fake, right? I mean, instead, we're actually seeing a huge rise of nationalism in the entire
country. Hey, sounds negative on it, at least, a little bit babyish, but like he's babying Trump, but he does sound against it, okay.
Country. So now
that's
what?
Good, at least.
Well, now, I mean, that's part of the problem is the bombing of their fuel depots, their oil depots, which literally would cause oil to be raining down on the faces of the Iranian people, their children, their babies and strollers, anybody who goes outside now after that happened. And that caused even the crazed lunatic Lindsey Graham to say to Israel, you might want to watch what you bomb. Actually, you might have gone too far. I mean, when Lindsey Graham is telling you you've gone too far in your bombing campaign, something very, very wrong has happened. But you mentioned that this is a war of choice, which I agree with. This is not what the administration says. Of course, the administration says we had no choice. Trump says, I had a feeling, I believed that they were about to develop a nuke, that they almost had a nuke. And now we had an interesting conversation that I heard today between Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck, in which O'Reilly seems to be shedding more light on that. We're going to play part of it for you now. Watch.
Reached a period in time, in history.
Okay. He was against that one. I kind of, little soft, but against it. Okay.
Delivers the greatest strategic disaster to
Although I guess if it turns out okay, he would have been in favor of it, like it was with Venezuela, but
United States potentially either since Vietnam or eclipsing it, if you talk to one of our guests, Professor Robert Pape, to live in that reality with those people who I really did trust. And I'm saying this on a personal level. I know many of them. I came up in politics, kind of in the same cohort. It has been the greatest betrayal of my lifetime. And I think what's really disappointing is how much of it is clearly BS, in that I believed that the voters believed that the wars were bad. And so to live in a reality where Thomas Massie, loses his House primary purely because of AIPAC and pro-Israel money and a boomer Republican base who, if you'd polled him under...
Well, and that Trump...
Yeah, excuse me? What? Wait, what? Massie lost because of Israel and AIPAC? Excuse me?
AIPAC and pro-Israel money and a boomer Republican base who, if you'd polled him under...
Well, and that Trump, let's
Trump,
not
right, of course.
deny that
100%.
Trump...
Right, those two together, those two forces together.
Sagar, I want to ask you a question, and I mean this, and this is for Crystal too. The dynamic that you're describing is a politics that distorts reality, that creates an impression.
It was because Trump fucking hated him and marked him for deletion.
And then makes policy choices to ameliorate the damage of this false reality. And you're saying that your dividing line for that was Iraq and now Iran. I think maybe the disconnect here for whatever you would call liberals or the left or any of those things is that the entirety of Trump's operation has been that.
Is a con, is what you're saying.
That's right. Has been the same dynamic you're describing that has disappointed you in Iraq and Iran.
True.
I would say has disappointed me when you say the Haitian community is eating cats and dogs.
Right.
Well, that's
great.
the same immigration-wise
it's not great.
Saddam Hussein is using these aluminum tubes to enrich uranium, and that's why we have to go in there. In other words, the reason that has been given for so many of these policy decisions that I would disagree with is also a distortion of reality.
I think that's entirely fair, John.
So I find it interesting that but somehow
fair.
Iran, it's like the whole Tucker Carlson of it. Okay. I've had enough. Really? Because it looks to me like it's the same shit that's been happening from day one.
Over again.
I think that's entirely fair. Again,
how can you think that's fair? He just said that he just called you retarded.
take a step back, and I can only from my perspective. The Haitian thing. Yeah, it was a lie. The truth is, a lot of us sat and swallowed it because we wanted less immigration. And we're like, okay, well, I mean, this highlights a topic and an issue which we can fight on. We can put the left on the back foot because, they want, mass amnesty. And we don't. No.
Huh. It's almost like there's literally no point in you having any kind of independent show whatsoever, because in that single statement, you literally display all of the same capture that any corporate media entity would have fallen prey to, which is there's a political outcome you want, therefore you think it's okay to lie to achieve that political outcome. What's the difference between you and any of the other shit you were criticizing?
Which we can fight on. We can put the left on the back foot because, they want, mass amnesty, and we don't. And that was a tactical political decision that people in politics make all the time.
But I'm not even sure they want mass amnesty. I even think that's a red herring. I don't know that they do want mass amnesty, but we don't have a politics in this country that's functional enough or literate enough to have an actual conversation about what immigration in this country should look like.
I think that, again, I totally take your point, and this is the most common.
Look at me.
Yeah.
Come on.
My parents are loving this. Me being put in my place. But I do think, with the Iran thing, and again, I can explain it from my perspective, which was these were people whose entire careers, literally, were kind of built on opposition to the neoconservative agenda. And did we know Trump is a liar, a con, often says various different things? Absolutely. Many of us knew that, or would say it in private. What we also knew is that in his first term, he was incredibly deferential to a lot of his staff. A lot of the people he was hiring, I knew.
Would say things in private. Well, we knew these things in private. We didn't want to say them to people publicly. How is he not saying, exactly what, what was Stewart talking about? It was exactly the...
That's kind of a drag that you're literally walking to a place
what he was talking about
called Deception Lane. It's Spin Alley. Don't you see that's the issue I'm trying to talk to you guys?
I actually believe I have a lot of friends who work for President Bush. Went to college. I went to education. They actually believe what they're saying. They want to persuade you. That's what they're trying to do by spinning. But I don't doubt for a minute these people who work for President Bush, who I disagree with and everything, they believe that stuff, John. This is not a lie or deception at all. I think they believe
just like I believe in my guys. I think they believe President Bush would do a better job, and I believe the Kerry guys believe President Kerry would do a better job. But what I believe is they're not making honest arguments.
How is that not a what that? I don't think I could craft a more perfect response to what this guy just said exactly, right? This criticism right here.
They actually believe what they're saying. They want to persuade you. That's what they're trying to do by spinning. But I don't doubt for a minute these people who work for President Bush, who I disagree with and everything, they believe that stuff, John. This is not a lie or deception at all.
I think they believe
just like I believe in my guys.
I think they believe President Bush would do a better job, and I believe the Kerry guys believe President Kerry would do a better job. But what I believe is they're not making honest arguments. So what they're doing is, in their mind, the ends justify the means.
Mass amnesty. Us sat and swallowed it because we wanted less immigration. And we're like, okay, well, short for my...
Really? Because it looks to me like it's the same shit that's been happening from day one.
I think that's entirely fair. Again, to take a step back, and I can only short from my perspective. The Haitian thing. Yeah, it was a lie. The truth is, a lot of us sat and swallowed it because we wanted less immigration. And we're like, okay, well, I mean, this highlights a topic and an issue which we can fight on. We can put the left on the back foot because, they want, mass amnesty, and we don't. And that was a tactical political decision that people in politics make all the time.
But I'm not even sure they want mass amnesty.
It's literally the exact same thing. But for some reason, these guys are being glazed on this now. Why? My brain is destroyed.
I even think that's a red herring. I don't know that they do want mass amnesty, but we don't have a politics in this country that's functional enough or literate enough to have an actual conversation about what immigration in this country should look like.
I think that, again, I totally take your point, and this is the most common...
Look at me!
Yeah.
Come on!
My parents are loving this. Me being put in my place. But I do think, with the Iran thing, and again, I can explain it from my perspective, which was these were people whose entire careers, literally, were kind of built on opposition to the neoconservative agenda. And did we know Trump is a liar, a con, often says various different things? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Many of us knew
but
that.
But we thought he was going to be better.
Private. What we also knew is that in his first term, he was incredibly deferential to a lot of his staff. A lot of the people he was hiring, I knew.
He was good for our politics.
Had a genuine belief we should
so
go
who cares?
to war with Iran. So, but what was extremely blackpilling, to use an online term, was to see those same people have to defend the war, and in some cases use Iraq rhetoric. I mean, I remember the vice president who I'd seen give lectures against the war with Iran, or against neoconservatism. He was in the Oval. It was in the middle of the Iran war, and he's like, "It's like a suicide bomber. We're not going to wait till the suicide bomb goes off to disarm it." And I was like, "Oh my god!"
We don't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud, right?
It's Condoleezza Rice all over again. I actually couldn't believe it. And then Mark Thiessen is back on my television screen, and Ari Fleischer is back on my television screen, and the same liars, who are justifying this, and to watch that happen, I would say, fine, I was fooled. I didn't think it would. I thought,
who could have ever thought that when you rhetorically engage in the talking point over and over and over again of you can't trust anything he says ever because Trump says crazy shit, and then it's like, I can't believe that he lied to me. It's almost like maybe the things are linked. Maybe. Nobody should take any of these people seriously. I wouldn't want to be on a show with this guy. If Mr. Mooten said something this retarded, I wouldn't do politics with him. How can you be so, it's like so in front of you and you're so blind to it?
The lesson was learned. And there's a major mea culpa that has had and has to be had by people who thought that it would be different and said so publicly. So that's kind of where I am currently.
Crystal, what do you think of that? Because it's hard for me to hear a mea culpa about an Iran war when the entire regime is that. There's an inevitability to the reality distortion field and the actions that they take based on a reality that they are creating.
Yeah. Well, this is something Sagar and I have had it over on our show quite a lot and have sorted through in many conversations. And I've certainly had my I told you so's. And in fairness to Sagar.
It's not even an I told you. I don't mean it that way. Honestly, it's not that.
No, I get what you're saying, though. And I think one of the biggest differences in my view going into Trump 2.0 and Sagar's view, apart from the fact that we have different ideologies, and so we have different things that we consider to be good or bad, specifically on immigration in particular. But Sagar's view was that there were institutional constraints the first time, and there will be some institutional constraints this time.
That's true.
I looked at what had been done in the offseason, whether it was Project 2025, whether it was all of the plans to mass fire government workers, whether it was the Supreme Court taking control of the Supreme Court and then the Supreme Court giving Trump a green light to commit whatever crimes in office that he wants to, whether it was the mass loyalty test and fealty that he demanded that people back up his 2020 election.
All of these things in Project 2025 ahead of time, none of these things were mysterious. None of these things were unknown. None of these things required you to be a fucking psychic. They were all said and known.
Election stolen lies. I looked at that and said, no, this is going to be gloves off. It is going to be a most maximalist version of what he would want to do, of what his id is. And it's going to be horrifying. Now, even I don't think could have anticipated all of the Doge and CCOT and murdering random fishermen in the Caribbean. I could have anticipated and did anticipate the Iran war. But those were, I think, two of the very different frames that we had coming into this. And, for me,
The Iran war was a harder one, I think. I'm trying to remember, were there any major politicians that were talking about the Iran war?
Let's also be clear, if this president is thinking about putting us in a position where we're in a war with Iran, the consequences will be absolutely unacceptable and tragic in terms of the young men and women who are American soldiers who would be sent and deployed into something that was completely avoidable.
A completely avoidable war with Iran.
Let's also be clear, if this president is thinking about...
very much caught between people who now are seeing some of the problems. I want to say, great, come along. But I agree with you that there has to be some reckoning with, okay, how did you get it wrong? And again, I think Sagar has actually done this, but how did you get it wrong? How did you end up in this place? And what are we doing going forward? Because if you're now just all of a sudden pretending like you had nothing to do with his rise, if you aren't reckoning with the other lies and horrors that unfolded during Trump 1.0 and in the offseason and in the buildup to Iran, then it's going to be very difficult to have any sort of coming together or certainly coalition formed around that group.
I only eat food now that afterwards I can swim in the bowl that I ate it in. Can you imagine if your cereal bowl was literally big enough you could eat your cereal and then go for a quick dip? Oh, the time I would save. But I got to tell you, this Magic Spoon, man, it's healthy food. Cereal, imagine that. Cereal, but healthy. It's Magic Spoon, changing the game. They got 13 grams of protein for those of you going through the change of life, as I am, where you get the old sarcopenias. As they come in, you got to get that muscle up. You got to get that protein. 0 sugar, by the way. 5 grams of net carbs per serving. That's low. So you got a lot of protein, no sugar, and not that many carbs there. Great breakfast. Late night snack, post-workout fuel. Wake up in the middle of the night weeping. It's a great time to console yourself. They got granola. They got snack bars. Come on, man. Don't make me beg. Look for Magic Spoon on Amazon or at your nearest grocery store. And there are plant-based versions of the cereal, too. Even vegans get to feel like they had a childhood. You'll find vegan options at Whole Foods or get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/TWS. That's magicspoon.com/TWS for $5 off.
Now that's crazy.
My concern is that this awakening is actually just strategic.
What do you mean by that?
So, all right, let's go to the photograph in the Cracker Barrel, the Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson photo of the diaspora, the Republican diaspora, those that have woken, and the Iran war, and now they sit in this room and they're going to come up with this is the real Make America Great Again. That was fake. That we enabled it. We worked our asses off to amplify the lying to help create a reality distortion field that has given us all of these bad outcomes, from invading Iran to a shitty reflecting pool, because they're all one and the same. They're part of the same process, quite frankly.
Yep.
It's all the same. It's the real great replacement theory. Let's take all the partisans and replace them with ideologues, because partisans are part of the game. Ideologues are a whole different version. And now what they've done is they've created a little isolated group that can say, oh no, we didn't go along with it. So whoever kind of rises up to next lead MAGA, that group can bless and provide cover to say, oh no, these guys have it right now. This is the real MAGA, and we'll provide cover. And I don't think any of it isn't intentional. I think the entirety of the design of this, and it's not just the last 10 years, it's the last 50 or 60 years.
So, I mean, obviously a very cynical interpretation. I know some other people, I think...
Please tell me why I shouldn't be cynical about that interpretation. Please tell me why these bad faith actors are suddenly acting in good faith.
You have every right to think that. I don't think that there's nearly the incentive that you necessarily are... Like, you have people who all lost their elections and are not exactly like... Well, let's say Marjorie Taylor Greene's and Thomas Massey's case, like, actually lost their entire careers. Or Joe Kent, for example, who I know personally, and is not somebody who's...
I don't think they're the progenitors of it. I think Tucker is. I think he's the one who has to be... He feels he must be... It's very telling. He said, I couldn't believe how little influence I have. His whole thing is, I have to be in proximity to power.
Look, I've known Tucker for a long time. I just don't really agree with that analysis, having spoken to him. I would say that he does feel genuinely burned by Donald Trump, not just with Iran, but actually with a lot more. I know you're skeptical.
How are you burned by a guy that 10 years ago you said, this man is corrupt to the core and I hate him? How are you burned by that?
Sure. I mean, the vice president said that as well. I think, right? People can change.
Right. So the answer to this is Tucker actually does feel burned by Trump, but he was complicit the entire time. He knew that Trump was a fucking liar. We know that he knew that Trump was a fucking liar. He knew it the whole fucking time. It's the same issue, is all of these media shows are not true media shows. They are political activism masquerading as independent news. That's all it is. They're advertisers. They're doing PR for the Republican Party. That's it. Like, I'm sitting here screaming, they're getting it wrong. They're getting it wrong. They're not getting it wrong. It's like saying a commercial that says Coke is the best soda on the planet is getting it wrong. It's a commercial for Coke. Of course it's going to say Coke is the best. Much the same, if you watch Sager, of course it's going to be shameless Republican slop. That's all he's capable of. That's his job. He's an activist. He's part of the messaging arm of the Republican Party.
Is also a cynical person manipulating himself into the halls of power. You can't convince me otherwise, because I've seen no evidence of it.
Let's take the vice president out, because you're right, he's literally the vice president, so he had something to gain. I don't see necessarily the same Tucker gain. I guess whenever it comes to the third party, or let's even take the Trump criticism, I again think it's genuine. It has lost him any like genuine friendships, cachet. I think in terms of his ability to project power in a Republican Party. I mean, I'm not sure if you've seen some of the approval polling on Tucker, like after Trump.
Did they do approval polling on pundits?
They did. Yes, they did, because they were testing this exact theory of what you're discussing, which is like, hey, does Tucker independently have juice amongst Republicans without Trump? And his net negatives went much higher. Obviously, he's independent on his show, like in terms of his away from partisanship or his own economic situation. But
Sagar, the same could be said about Republicans who were apostate about the Iraq War. In other words, people look to the future. Mm-hmm. And he's always been a guy that has looked to what's in it. Look, explain to me a guy who says, I'm all about liberty and America and make America great again. And you know who's really a great leader? Putin. Like, there's an incoherence to this that has to be cynical, because it's incoherent.
I understand how you get there, but again,
oh
but it's like,
God,
and this is kind of like because I work with Crystal, like I could see your brain pathways
yes,
and how you
yes.
get there. So I'll explain the way that we would get there and the way we would get there.
Like, how is this not the Crossfire people, but now John is the guy with the bow tie, right? He's just, this is what we're watching right now. It's political theater.
Tucker, or not even just Tucker, a lot of MAGA, and you're talking about Putin, I assume, in terms of like the war in Ukraine or admiration or whatever for the Russian system. Some of which, by the way, I do think goes to.
No, he's talking about when Tucker Carlson was literally walking into fucking stores going, I can't believe they sell bread in Moscow. I was told it was poor here. Did you know that they have groceries here? That's what he's talking about.
But a lot of it is about no, I'm saying in terms of like people who like, like Russia is the, this pinnacle of Western greatness. And it's like, well, just look at their demographics and their economy. Like, that's not exactly true. But the point that I think where it came from, again, just to.
So a longstanding feature maybe the longest-standing feature of Cold War propaganda in the West was the Soviet grocery store. No products, no choices, shoddily made things. And it wasn't actually propaganda, it was real. And you can look up the pictures on the internet if you want. So we thought it would be interesting to take a look at a contemporary, modern day, 2024 Russian grocery store 2 years into sanctions. Here we go.
All right.
There we go. So I guess you put in 10 rubles.
2 years into sanctions. The whole point of this was just to break U.S. or Ukrainian resolve, right? That's the only reason why this is even being done, by the way. That's to show how worthless your American sanctions are against our glorious Russian country. It's the only reason why.
Here, and you get it back when you put the cart back. So it's free, but there's an incentive to return it and not just bring it to your homeless encampment. Okay, this is the grocery cart escalator. This is designed, I'm figuring this out now, where the wheels don't move, they lock on the grocery cart escalator. Look, Ma, no hands. Retail placement here is a little bit different. So it's like walking through Macy's to get to Whole Foods. Okay, we've gotten through the perfume section to get to the grocery store. So we're gonna try and buy what a family of four would buy every week, and we're gonna see what the selection is, and we're gonna see what it costs. Now, Russia is famous for its bread, which is one thing I can assess pretty well. The low-carb lifestyle has not swept Russia. Thank heaven, because I mean, look at that. It's fresh too. Look at that. Oh, come on. Unicorn and mini mills. All right. Some kind of Russian wheat cookies. Ooh, we need coffee, don't we? Yeah. I don't know if this is sugar or flour, to be honest with you, but it looks like a staple, so we should get it. It's a very good-looking package. It's got to be flour, right? And this is Russian wine. It's from Crimea, which not only has the warm water naval base, but also is the source of...
The warm water naval base. Yes, comrade. That is correct. Yes, comrade. Yes, the warm water naval base. Thank you, comrade.
most of the grapes in this part of Russia for wine, so it's apparently pretty good. Cheese puffs. You check out of a grocery store and you've got gum, razor blades, and candy. Actually, they hide the razor blades because we steal them. But these are all seem to be Western products. Mars, Twix, Snickers, Milky Way, Bounty, Gillette, Halls Cough Drops, Mentos. It's pretty non-sanctioned to me, but what do I know? I went from amused to legitimately angry. So we were guessing what this would cost. Everybody here from the United States buys groceries, and we didn't pay any attention to costs as we were just putting in the cart what we would actually eat over a week. And we all came in around $400, about $400. It was $104 US here. And that's when you start to realize that ideology maybe doesn't matter as much as you thought.
Like, this is the fun, like, people used to say that Sudan was poor as fuck. Really? I went to Sudan and I was able to buy a massive house for only $942 USD. And it included 3 slaves. Like, and people used to say that there was so much trouble in Detroit. Well, did you know that in Detroit, there are whole neighborhoods where houses are sold for $20?
Corruption. If you take people's standard of living and you tank it through filth and crime and inflation, and they literally can't buy the groceries they want, at that point, maybe it matters less what you say or whether you're a good person or a bad person. You're wrecking people's lives in their country, and that's what our leaders have done to us. And coming to a Russian grocery store, the heart of evil, and seeing what things cost and how people live, it will radicalize you against our leaders. That's how I feel anyway, radicalized. We're not making any of this up, by the way, at all.
Wonder what does it mean when everything is so cheap in a country? It's like, bruh. It's just unreal to me.
I try to explain this, is a lot of the original 2016 energy, in particular, was a Buchanan.
I can't believe he didn't understand that. I'm pretty sure that's what Stewart was referencing.
Like, I could see how you get there, but
coherence, America great again. And you know who's really a great leader? Putin. Like, there's an incoherence to this that has to be cynical because it's incoherent.
I'm pretty sure that he was referencing like the slurp tour that fucking that he went on. Although I'm sure that Tucker has also slurped up Russian propaganda on more parts of his podcast. But
understand how you're like Tucker, or not even just Tucker, a lot of MAGA.
Is the point of him commenting on the price of it is that the same cart would cost $200 to $300 and that's unaffordable? The problem when you do a direct comparison like that is that things oftentimes will not like there's a whole bunch of reasons why you wouldn't use this as a 1-to-1, but generally speaking, like you can very easily, I hate to do the common sense meme, but you can very easily common sense this out. If I were to ask you, hey, do you want to live in a country where the average rent for an apartment is $1,400 a month? Or do you want to live in a country where the average rent for an apartment is $27 a month? You might have to think for like 1.5 seconds, but I think I'm probably going to go with the one with the $1,200 a month one. I don't think I want to live where the average cost of housing is $27 a month. I think there's a whole bunch of other shit going on. You would never look to like, or at the very least, if you wanted to do a more intellectually honest analysis, well, what are the median earnings of a Russian versus the median earnings of a U.S. worker? Because if the groceries are, half the cost, but the median earnings are like 1/10 of an American, like it's just like,
you're talking about Putin, I assume, in terms of like the war in Ukraine or admiration or whatever for the Russian system. Some of which, by the way, I do think goes too far. But a lot of it is about No, I'm saying in terms of like people who like, like Russia is the, this pinnacle of Western greatness. And it's like, well, just look at their demographics and their economy. Like that's not exactly true. But the point that I think where it came from, again, just to try to explain this, is a lot of the original 2016 energy, in particular, was a Buchananite rejection of globalism. And in particular, I think what people tried to see in Putin, or / like admiration or whatever of Putin or the Russian system. What
is he a Putin? Wait, did I? Wait, wait. I wasn't listening at all. I'm sorry. There was a part of my mind that was like, him was building towards. I understand why you might think that some people are Putin simps, but like, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to explain why people aren't Putin simps, but he's just explaining why he's a Putin simp. What?
Pinnacle of Western greatness. And it's like, well, just look at the war in Ukraine or admiration or whatever for like Tucker, or not even just Tucker, a lot of MAGA. And you're talking about Putin, I assume, in terms of like the war in Ukraine or admiration or whatever for the Russian system. Some of which, by the way, I do think goes too far. But a lot of it is about No, I'm saying in terms of like people who like, like Russia is the, this pinnacle of Western greatness. And it's like, well, just look at their demographics and their economy. Like that's not exactly true. But the point that
not exactly true.
I think where it came from, again, just to try to explain this, is a lot of the original 2016 energy, in particular, was a Buchananite rejection of globalism. And in particular, I think what people tried to see in Putin, or / like admiration or whatever of Putin or the Russian system, was somebody who stands up for like the neoliberal West, right? So if I were to look at it through that frame, it's a little bit different. Like I don't think it is necessarily as incongruent as you're thinking, because if you're a nationalist and your primary, view of the world is that sovereignty itself is one of the things you should promote, and not just promote, but to cherish and to hold dear as much as possible, then you're going to look at different countries which have rejected like a Western global hegemon and say, oh, that's admirable, I guess, in a sense. Again, I'm not saying I agree with it.
Is that what you want to be like? You look at Russia and you go, I want to be like that country? Well,
sure.
But I'm trying to explain how somebody would get there.
Well, Crystal, let me...
Not me, but somebody else. I don't know.
Let me ask you, because it is, this gets us into a whole other thing, but maybe this is the distinction between left-wing and right-wing populism, because I always think of populism through a much more economic lens, but there really is a nationalist lens that you have to look through it as well. And the thing that's interesting about the right-wing populism is, and again, I view it as cynical. It's the
I disagree. I disagree. And I'm probably just factually wrong here, okay? I'll admit it. I disagree that populism is anything more than political rhetoric. I don't agree that there is a such thing as like economic populism. I think you can do like expanded welfare stuff or expanded taxation, but economic populism, I don't know what the fuck that means. Sounds fucking retarded. Like higher taxes for wealthy people and greater redistribution. We already have words to describe all of this stuff. Like populism and populist economics just sounds like rhetoric. That sounds like what we're really signaling here. Something about the elites, something about how cool the middle class is, and something about how blue collar work is better than fucking loser white collar work or something like that. This is your like populist economic, unless they're going to explain exactly what it means. But then if they do, they're just going to explain like standard Democratic Party, liberal, mixed market, high welfare state, high taxation on wealthy people, like high progressive tax bracket economics. That's the
thing that's interesting about the right-wing populism is, and again, I view it as cynical. It's the Bannon theory of power. I'm going to combine left-wing economic populism because I think that gives me a large group of people to pull from. And I'm going to combine it with right-wing, we must protect white Anglo-Saxon culture and Western civilization, which is their, I guess, sort of euphemism for that homogeneity. I think the second part of that, the white homogeneity, is more important to them than the economic populism. And the reason that I think that is because they didn't tell their judges to be economic populists. Like every Supreme Court decision that comes down basically favors corporate interest.
Yeah.
Rather than workers' interest.
The economic part of it, at least, putting the voters aside, but in the expression of right-wing populism in Trump and I would say other right-wing populist leaders around the world, the economic part is basically fake. I mean, this has been an incredible administration for billionaires in the oligarch class. They've never made more money or had more power or been deregulated. They're getting everything they want. And that's part of why it was easier for Trump to take over the Republican Party than it has been for the left to take over the Democratic Party, because the left-wing populism, that class dynamic you're talking about, that is the whole thing, right? It is, in populism, you're
the class dynamic. Oh, get into it more. She's just a Marxist. She is, but that's okay. Well, no, actually, it'd be nice if they were honest about it. Or maybe she will be. Who the fuck knows? But that's
basically doing the people versus who is the villain. For the left, the villain is the billionaires, it's the trillionaires, it's the Epstein class, it's the oligarchs. For the right, it's typically, to frame it, I think you're right in your framing. There's usually a lot of, scapegoating of various minority groups. And so you can use a sort of slopulist, faux populist rhetoric when it comes to the economics, but that has all been cast aside. And in Trump 1.0, it was as well. I mean, their biggest economic accomplishment was this big tax cut for the rich that was cooked up by the Heritage Foundation and Paul Ryan. So I think that is an important distinction here. And I think that's increasingly becoming clear to many Americans, which is why Trump's approval rating on the economy is in the toilet, why there is such disgust with him, why you see this real rise of left-wing populist candidates who are overcoming a lot of money and establishment rejection of them and attempts to smear and demagogue against them. But they're able to succeed anyway because the establishment has lost so much credibility with the Democratic base, and also because these economic and oligarchic forces have become so abundantly apparent to so many Americans.
Yeah, John, and I think, look, again, I hear your critique, and I've had my mea culpa.
By the way, Sagar, you really are, like, your way of dealing with me is exactly how now I'm going to go home and deal with people in my family. I hear what you're saying.
Right. I see how you got there.
I see how you got there.
I mean, because I spend my time with Crystal and
I've been in that Waymo, and I understand it's taken you.
Right.
Yeah.
You took one route, we're taking another.
Exactly.
If you were to take my route, my preferred route. So, you're you're imbuing kind of an ideology of just, in your original analysis there, about economics and about white identity politics. But I actually think, and I would take it further, is it's actually worse. It's really just about Trump. And I think it really took the Iran war to fully kick that in for me, is that the voters fundamentally, they just really like Trump. And it's actually not as much about policy or any of the things that you might type of think.
It took you 12 years? It took you 10 or 11 years to figure out that MAGA voters are retards that don't know fuck all about how can you be a serious person with the fucking tie and the suit? What the fuck are you doing with your job all day? What does he think that in 2016 the average MAGA person was like when Trump was talking about banning corporate inversions or Ireland? That actually really resonated with me.
I really hit home for me in terms of, like, when I talk to some of these people still all on board the Trump train, especially the older voters, they really just love how he drives people like you crazy. And that's actually just all it is.
That may be the saddest thing I've ever heard.
But it's true. It is kind of empirically true, is what you see is like liberal cultural rejection of Trump.
He hates the right people.
Or no, he's hated by the right people. That's actually what it's about.
All right.
And so that's the truth, I think, at the beating heart of a lot of the remaining MAGA coalition.
So if we start to like him, they'll abandon him?
I don't know about that. The damage has probably been done, but I don't know if they would cling necessarily as hard as you think. But this is where, though, to kind of break my own analysis, the one thing that does appear to quote unquote trump that is the economic situation, which is a validation, I think, of the economic framework of what you're talking about. For the very first time, we see Trump's net approval rating with Republicans on the economy begin to dip down as a result, both of the way that the tariffs were handled and because of the Iran war and $4 gasoline. That is beginning to pierce what I would say is the cultural veneer. And it already has, definitely, for a lot of, let's say, the younger men or voters who went along with Trump in 2024.
But I'd rather talk about the designers of this program than those that have to live through it. I think I'm talking more about the designers.
Okay.
That the Project 2025 designers. There is a Christian nationalist bent to it that I think is the driving force.
Would I say that? Whoo! These guys, man. These guys. I thought I had a working class background. These guys are sweeping so well.
Force of it. And everything else is strategic and intentional about how do we get there? How do we get to the power? How do we get to control everything when our ultimate goal is that?
So I think it's much more economic. And even Project 2025 itself is kind of a complicated story, right? Because Project 2025 was written by the Heritage Foundation. It was explicitly disavowed by Donald Trump on the campaign trail. Who
explicitly disavowed? He did say over and over again, I haven't heard of that. Who is saying over and over again, though, that, well, you can't take Trump literally. You just have to take him seriously. Who could have ever possibly known that not being able to trust the words of your leader could lead you astray? I just can't understand how anybody can take any of these people seriously. I just don't know what they do all day.
Was like, I have nothing to do.
Come on, man. Now you're.
I'm not saying it was real. I'm saying he disavowed it, correct? Like he did.
But cynically, he didn't disavow it.
Correct.
He gave it plausible deniability, as he does with. That's my point,
okay.
Is when you act like, wow, this Iran thing really caught me off guard, and then you tell me, with earnestness, oh no, he disavowed 2025. He did nothing of the kind. He in no way wanted to deal with the particulars of it because he knew how politically damaging it
No,
was.
no, I was about to get there. So I was saying he disavowed it only then to hire many of the people who were signatories of Project 2025. So there wasn't an acknowledgement going into the campaign that this is politically damaging, this type of product, the Heritage Foundation, et cetera. But then that became the general policy, at least in some areas. It's been kind of complicated because a lot of it is just Trump himself deciding what the tariff rate on China should be whenever he wakes up in the morning. I'm not joking. That's actually how it works.
I liked when he didn't like a conversation he had in Switzerland, and he was like, 50% on chocolate.
Right. Yeah, 50% on chocolate and watches. For the watch community, that was devastating as a member of that. So, like, when we talk about the designers, I don't know if it's as intentional, though, as you say. I do think all political...
That's crazy. So are you saying that maybe they lied because they thought that they could pass their political program, but they thought that lying in service of that would be an okay thing, which was the exact same thing that you said, the exact same excuse that you gave for why you can lie when you do stuff? Like, it's almost like lying is not like the most effective way to do political communication, maybe?
Coalitions have like people who are insider organizations in Washington who are jockeying for power. That's literally the job of the Heritage Foundation or of these neoconservative think tanks. So you're saying, like what you're talking about, how you think the Iran war came out of nowhere, that's kind of a foolish thought. But it's just really hard for somebody who lives in the town, knows some of the most senior appointees or some of the people who were there, who in private and in public spoke against war with Iran, made good cases against war with Iran, why we should disengage from the Middle East. To say that that was disingenuous the whole time, I'm still just having a hard time with
No, what I'm saying is not that it was disingenuous. And I'll ask you this, Crystal. The idea wasn't that they really didn't believe they would go into Iran. My point is that all these other policy decisions that have gone along with the intentional design of moving us more towards this intentional heritage American version, non-creedal America, of a people who belong here more than other people, who are more American than other people, real America, that's all been driven by a very intentional planning group that is trying to figure out ways to maximize their power. And in doing so, have created this group that is manufacturing a reality to get them to do that. Now, the Iran war, whether it fits into that framing or not, that's the reality of it. It's a cynical manipulation to get to a certain goal. And my problem is, and Crystal, I'm going to ask you this, is it your problem as well that you look at this sudden, like, I can't believe the tiger ate my face, when the rest of us have been faced with this cynical manipulation of policy the whole time?
Yeah.
Whether it got them the results they wanted on immigration, but not the result they wanted on Iran.
Yeah, I mean, at the risk of ganging up on Tucker, I feel very similarly to you.
No. And by the way, and then we'll talk about how the left sucks. So
okay, we'll do that in a moment.
Yes.
But no, I mean, look, I look at the track record from Trump 1.0. I look at J.D. Vance's speech, to your point, about the heritage American, Christian nationalist vision for the country. His speech at the RNC, where he laid out an explicitly blood and soil conception, said America's not an idea. And then you look at at Stephen Miller, who is so powerful that he's been called prime minister within the administration. And this guy is a diehard ideologue who loves to Nazi post on Maine. There is no doubt what his priorities are. So far, as Trump even has said, like, oh, this guy would like there to just be 100 million people in the country that all look like him. So it's not a secret what his priorities are. And he's been given a free hand.
Has Trump said that about Stephen Miller? Because if so, Jesus Christ. Oh.
And in order to execute that sort of policy. So I think you have that strain. And then I think you have Trump is just the most self-dealing, corrupt person on the entire planet, who also has Kushner and Witkoff and these other characters who are also focused on looting and self-dealing as the other primary impetus within the administration. And I think when you put all of that together, and also Trump's desire to be this big man in history, and he wants this world-changing legacy, whether that is for good or for ill, I think that's part of what explains the Iran war in particular. But when you put the ideologues together with the self-dealing, together with the total lack of any guardrails on this train at this point, that's how you end up with this situation. And yes, to your point, I mean, not only was it predictable, it was predicted.
By Kamala Harris, by the way.
Mint Mobile. And it's important that you throw in the mobile there. Because Mint, we all know what that's about. But Mint Mobile, what we're talking about here is...
Wait, what is Mint? Like just mints or what?
A phone company that's delivering you their product for less than what other phone companies are doing. Like, I don't know what you want out of a phone company. What I want out of a phone company is deliver me a good product for less and don't bother me. Well, Mint Mobile plan, $15 a month. $15 a month.
That's
what is
crazy, fam.
1992, $15 a month. High-speed data, unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You want to bring your current phone and your current number to it. Get rid of your overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile.
You can even bring your current number over? What?
To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/TWS.
No,
that's mintmobile.com/TWS. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/TWS.
Crazy.
That's it.
Unreal.
There's no catch.
That's wild, fam.
So given all that, and I think that's a summation that I would not disagree with, why is it that the Democrats are having such a difficult time? They don't control anything. They don't control the Senate. They don't control the Congress. They don't control the court. And they don't control
now our
the
real
White House.
crystal ball
So what is it about
coming.
the way the Democrats have governed that has allowed this, in my mind, cynical and corrupt experiment to take such hold? And when will accountability come for that? Because I don't think that Trump arose for no reason. I think people were dissatisfied with a government that did not seem to be responsive to the needs of the people and was at a remove.
Yes, I agree. And I think what we've seen at this point is a sort of limp
Mick Lovin's Buns. Thank you for the 10 gifted kickstarts, man.
status quo, decorum-obsessed liberalism is not going to be sufficient to fight what I see as rising forces of fascism in the country. They weren't historically. You know, when we had a previous rise of a fascist movement in this country, it took FDR, it took the New Deal coalition, a sort of experiment in social democracy here in the U.S. to beat that back.
Forget about rising fascism, though. How about just like rural broadband? Like I'm not even talking about a party that is not up to the task of fighting the Nazis.
She wants to talk about the Marxisms, though, Brad. But sorry,
I'm talking about a party that is not up to the task of competently governing and easing the difficulties that people are facing in their day-to-day lives, not being responsive to their needs.
Mm-hmm.
See, I would pick up on that.
Not only not responsive to their needs, but actively gaslighting them about their needs. I mean, we could go back to the financial crisis and the response to that.
Yes. Okay.
Which was too little, where there was zero accountability to Wall Street criminals, where homeowners were completely screwed. And you can see the seeds of that dissatisfaction. And now we've got two generations, millennials and Zoomers, and soon it'll be Gen Alpha as well, who are being shut out of the American dream, who can't aspire to buy a house, who see education costs, they're told to go get a college degree. That college degree is wildly expensive. They're saddled with debt, and then they can't get a good job out of it. A bunch of AI oligarchs are telling them they're going to take their jobs anyway. And there has been a wildly insufficient, at best, response from the Democratic Party establishment.
But
They've
not
been
really
more interested in
insufficient.
palliative care for America, the working class of America in particular, than actually solving problems.
Wait, they put us in hospice?
And governing, pretty much, and governing effectively. And so, one of the things that we've seen in the small pilot experiment of Zoran Mamdani in New York City, where, look, you're the mayor of a city, it's a big city, but you've got limited powers, is I do think you see a different approach to governance, where there's a real commitment to, no, we're going to make promises, we're going to deliver on those promises. People are going to feel the impact of government in a positive way. I'm sure you probably saw the story. Someone posted a picture of a pothole on, I think it was Instagram, and by the end of the day, he had come and filled that pothole. It's something small, but it makes people feel like, oh, the tax dollars that I'm paying, the government that I elected, they actually are trying to make my life better in a way that materially improves my quality of life. And Democrats have become completely divorced from that. And then, the other part of this, of course, hangs over all of it is money in politics. I mean, this is really the root cause of so much of it, where they are beholden to corporations, they're beholden to special interests, whether it's APAC or big tech, et cetera, that keeps them at odds with the needs and the desires of the American people. And so that's why I've been so heartened to see this reckoning that is happening between the Democratic base and the Democratic establishment in the party.
Sagar, how do you see the left now? Do you buy into the framing? There's a lot of talk about now they're socialists, and very rarely does anyone ever talk about what socialism is. It's just a word, and no one really describes, in terms of specific policy, what's socialist about it. How do you see the left? What would be your, greatest criticism of them, and what would be your fix to that? How could you see them recovering from that?
So, I mean, look, I do not speak for the right, so I'm a very unique person. I don't really care about Hassan Piker. I did an event with him. He was fine. We were perfectly cordial. I actually think he's not nearly as radical as a lot of people think that he is.
Of course you don't.
And so, I don't know if I'm the best person to answer, but from my perspective, here's what I would say, is that fundamentally, what I think, you guys talked about, there's been a lot of cultural issues and all of that are nonsense. At the end of the day, there's only one movement in recent history that won households under $100,000. That was Donald Trump in the 2024 campaign, which he won the popular vote. The DSA and leftists is predominantly a coalition of downwardly mobile white liberals. A lot of people who don't have a four-year college degree find the movement distasteful or distrust them. We saw that just what happened in the Abdul El-Sayed campaign in the primary election, where you had older black voters of traditional political constituency and households that don't have four-year college did not vote for him.
Still vote. I mean, that was a Democratic primary, but
right. But that's emblematic also in the general election results of 2024. So if we try to transpose those two things, the most likely predictor of what your politics are in this country is whether you have a four-year college degree or not. And if four-year college degree is also correlated highly with income, the Democratic Party, while may having economic positions that supposedly benefit the working class, is not convinced the working class of that. That's just empirically true. Right. And so that's kind of my criticism, if you will. If it's, Crystal gave her speech, so I'll give my worst case, my worst faith interpretation would be, it's class cosplay. I mean, fundamentally, it is cosplay of dressing up, basically woke one type policy and or rhetoric.
To explain that, what is
woke
what
one?
is?
Yeah, this is the whole thing, right?
I mean, also let's be fair. I mean, Trump is the one who puts on the apron and sits in the McDonald's window. Talk about cosplay. I don't think anybody does it.
Depends what type of cosplay we're cosplaying.
How many times can you hear he's a blue collar billionaire, and you're like, yeah, I don't think that's a thing.
He's cosplaying Norman Rockwell America, obviously, which is highly effective. All right, so you have to grapple with that if you want to win in American politics today.
Right.
And so. Yeah, I mean, I think, and to the whole woke one debate, and Crystal and I literally had it today.
Yeah, tell me what you mean by that, because I'm not sure I understand.
So AOC recently went on television and she said, quote, woke one was crazy. And it was in relation to Francesca Hong, who's a DSA candidate, who is very likely to win, I think tonight, in
Wisconsin,
the primary
right?
in Wisconsin in the gubernatorial election, in which I don't have the exact tweet in front of me, had said something along the lines of critical of Thanksgiving. She gives an interview in which they said, so do you want to cancel Thanksgiving? And gives a word salad level of an answer.
Right.
Okay, might seem nonsensical. John, you and I both know that in this country that is not exactly how you're going to appeal, quote unquote, to the very working class that we're talking about.
My favorite holiday.
Yeah, it's most people's favorite holiday. It's most normal people's favorite holiday. And so that comes across as deeply disconnected and obsessed with, what some activist is either going to say towards you, or your genuine belief that Thanksgiving or just like white society, which she's also talked a lot about her own like biracial son and potentially being ashamed of that, like that is deeply off-putting, I think, to a lot of people. And so that is where, like, to the extent that I have
I know we don't care, and I know that Crystal isn't obviously going to correct any of that because she fucking hates woke shit too. And I don't like the fucking Hong woman, but she was not saying that she was ashamed of her white fucking son. I know that's what the tweet said, but that wasn't really at all what she was saying, but okay.
Critique, I guess, is they're saying, oh, woke one was crazy. And it's like, no, but you still believe many of the things that woke one consisted of.
She's still saying that now?
No. What I'm saying is AOC had said woke one was crazy. As in the rhetoric that we used, there was an Overton window. And she made it clear that much of the rhetoric that was used from 2020 was bad.
Oh, okay.
Right?
All right. I see what you're saying. Was dumb.
And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But, kind of, John, as you're saying, if the rhetoric was bad, well, what about the idea? Like, do you still believe, like, in defund the police? Zoran had explicitly apologized to the cops and said, no, I'm sorry I said that. Right? And so, okay, that's fine, for people like
But
that.
isn't on the flip side of that, isn't going through people's old tweets, isn't that what the right hated
Absolutely
about?
fair.
So,
Fair. You're right. It's part of cancel culture. And has the right embraced cancel culture? Yes. Especially whenever it comes to anti-Semitism and all of this.
Or Bud
Damn,
Light.
dude, they have their unifying cause at least. Oh my God. Anti-Semitism? Really?
But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is so much of woke now or cancel culture or anything also just the ubiquity of social media, meaning we've democratized criticism. So social media makes its money on outrage, conflict, all those different things. Isn't it just a reflection of there is no such thing as non-cancel culture, because everything that you say, somebody will try and seek advantage of it and highlight it and amplify it to help them do that.
Certainly.
And I also don't understand how the idea that, well, she said Thanksgiving should be canceled, so she's crazy. But he said Trump won the 2020 election. That's fine. We're all just gonna go along with it.
Is it fine though?
Well, no, but I'm saying like it is.
I think people who say that get plenty of criticism though. I don't think it's fine. I don't think that's true.
Get it, but they get criticism, but there's no accountability. It's not like they don't still get confirmed by the Senate.
Correct.
It's not that they can sit in a confirmation hearing.
For example, Mike Rogers is an election denier, and I haven't seen all the hand-wringing about like, oh my God, is he going to be able to win and win over moderate voters because he's such an extremist on this?
See, I'm not sure that's true. I see that story like 2 days ago.
What I've heard is all about how extreme Abdul is because, oh my God, he hung out with Hassan Piker, how dare he, versus Mike Rogers, who actually holds these views himself and has expressed them multiple times. That's not framed as being too extreme for a moderate voter.
But I'm sure he doesn't actually hold those views, Crystal. He doesn't. Again, it's cynical. He doesn't actually hold them. I'm sure he's not an idiot.
Right, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day whether he believes it in his heart of hearts or whether it's a cynical posture. He's going to act and behave in the same way because he's going to be a rubber stamp for Donald Trump at the end of the day. So, no, I think woke is, and especially the current iteration of woke coming from the Trump administration.
Now, what's the current administration? So if that's woke point 1, what's woke point 2?
Well, that's, I think, up for debate. But currently we're living through a Trump regime that wants to crush any sort of dissent. The place where they've come down the hardest is on any sort of criticism of Israel, which is characterized as being anti-Semitic. And they've used it as an excuse to jail, to crush protests, to deport. And, as part of their NSPM 7 project, they also use that to label you as effectively a terrorist and subject to, potential government action and surveillance. So it goes far beyond some like social media cancellation campaign at this point. And I think really does expose how, at its core, this is really about controlling the bounds of debate, about scaring people into compliance, against an unpopular policy, and about maintaining power. So I think that's the way that it's really been deployed by Trump.
Does that sound like woke 2.0 to you, Sucker?
See, this is the difficulty. I accept Crystal's entire critique as that is the definition of woke. I've described the anti-Semitism, freak out in the administration as like Ibrahim X. Kendi's dream come true, like going after, universities and saying you're not sufficiently and not anti-Semitic enough. I think it's outrageous. I think it's obviously a violation and all that of free speech.
Obviously.
Woke 2.0 is what I think is, for example, Abdul El-Sayed, the candidate in Michigan, literally claimed that he never said defund the police. He did say it. He lied about that. Now that's an important thing. But John, he said it, and he lied that he didn't say it. He deleted his tweet, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And that may not be objectionable to you, but it certainly is objectionable.
We've all lived through the campaign ads of guys on the left having to like walk with police and go like, it's actually they're quite nice.
Well, I actually think that's healthy and good because it establishes good norms in society as opposed to like wanting to defund and or ban police.
Well, I never understood why progressives reject safety, public safety, as a non-progressive value. I always look at it as, don't people in the most economically devastated areas deserve the same level of law and order that people in Beverly Hills enjoy? I never understood why you would hold back on that. But Sucker, the anti-Semitism thing is kind of interesting to me as someone who's received pretty good anti-Semitic stuff and been accused of being it myself. If you look at the Twitter feed, I'll always get like, you're a dirty Jew, along with you're a capo. Like, you get it all. I'm interested on the right, this idea of, they fight anti-Semitism.
Is it pronounced
when
capo?
very clearly they hire people. There's the Republican, Young Republican Club in New York where they go through their chat history and it's just vile, like flat out anti-Semitism. Or J.D. Vance will say, look, the Nazi jokes, who doesn't like to have a Nazi joke? I don't think we should hold that against people while basically forcing universities to pay them millions and millions of dollars. It's, again, can you understand why the whole thing feels cynical?
Sure. Yeah. And you're right, because it is cynical, because it's not about anti-Semitism. It's about Israel. That's what it's about. It's about the unholy alliance.
But can't you understand now how writ large the whole operation seems cynical?
Yeah, but I would say that a lot of Democratic stuff is just as cynical, right? And so then
very well be. But you'd have to tell me those. You'd have to make those points to me as well. Right. And I could tell you what's cynical and what's not. But I don't hear a lot of specificity in the criticism.
100% fair. How much time do we have? I think
not much. You're busy people.
Yeah, I think I do want to pick up on the anti-Semitism point,
sure.
just because I do want people to. I want this to be emphasized. Is it does expose the lie at the heart of it, as you just said, that any of this is really about anti-Semitism or any genuine concern. It's about Israel, and it is just the pro-Israel alliance with the Trump administration. And Crystal, you eloquently talked about woke 2.0 and how it's about power. I think woke 1.0 was also about power, cultural takeover, in order to defend a unpopular policy. So I think they both have two things in common. And in both cases, I think both are genuinely not about what they allegedly were supposed to be: anti-Semitism and or racism. I think both are about cultural power. Who gets to have said power in our society? Again, I would say I would never have predicted it, John. And perhaps that's the dupe in me, but how can you come up with people who've been talking about free speech for 10 years, only to then, when they have power, deport people for what they have said? I would not have predicted that, never in a million years. And so I do have to be forced to accept some of your own criticism of what you're saying.
I'm just saying, like Donald Trump said to Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg, Zuckerbucks is what threw the election, and so if he tries that again, I'm going to put him in jail.
He said that for life.
I said that to Elon Musk. I said, so you said free speech is your line. You're supporting a guy who's literally threatened to jail somebody if they exercise their free speech, while you're, as a social media mogul, doing far more direct electioneering, giving away $1 million here, setting up an algorithm that favors conservative content. How can you justify that? And he says, oh, Trump is that's just talk.
Loser.
So I guess my point is, you see the clues you want to see, Crystal, and the same could be said from the left. If somebody was saying, yeah, man, I'm going to open all the borders, and then that's what happens, and you say, when you say, well, they said it, how can you pretend that they did?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think to me, it's not just about listening to the rhetoric. It's also looking at the actions. And, I mean, look, it's no secret. Trump behaves like an authoritarian. He does it in his business. He did it in Trump 1.0. He wanted to shoot protesters in the knees. That's hardly pro-First Amendment, pro-free speech type of activity. And on anti-Semitism specifically, I mean, there's always been, even at the height of, we're pro-free speech, et cetera, there's always been a carve-out for Israel. I mean, just look at these anti-BDS laws across the country. Look at the number of professors who had their careers attacked by, free speech maven Barry Weiss as one example. So there's always been a carve-out there, because it's about protecting Israel, and it's also about, a lot of the influence they've successfully been able to wield, which is not unique to the Israel lobby, but is very central to the way that our politics ultimately operate.
I totally agree.
Sagar, you were going to say something. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
I honestly don't even remember.
That's a perfect place to stop.
Hold on, John. If I don't say that my husband, Kyle Kalinske, wants you to run for president and is your biggest booster, then he's going to divorce me. So
oh, dear God. Don't let the divorce. I so want you two to work out, but I don't want to.
Come on. The country needs you, John.
Sagar, who you got? Who are you? Do you guys talk about, in your mind, is there a leader that you think could arise that could put behind us this weaponized environment we currently live in, run on a platform of sane policy, competently executed? Do you think they could do that? And is there someone out there that you view as having that potential?
There is an agenda for the taking for someone. I don't know who that someone is.
No question. Certainly on the left, it's wide open.
There is an agenda for the taking that is about economic populism. Yes, it's about pushing back against the tech oligarchs, fighting back against these data centers that are taking over communities and which are hated by left, right, center. Doesn't matter. About a foreign policy, which is about
just the common. We just need the common sense policy that everybody likes, and that. Yeah, thank you.
Investing in America rather than fighting these horrific, immoral foreign wars and backstopping a genocide. To me, there is a broad FDR-style coalition that is there for the taking if you have the right person who has credibility in expressing those values in the right way.
Sagar?
I don't know about a specific person. I do have a general kind of theory. I love to read history books, is that we talked about the 60s and the 70s. And one of the most unique parts of Jimmy Carter's rise is that if you had gone a few years before, nobody would have predicted that somebody like him could have been elected. Now, let's ignore how he actually governed and kind of the promise of Carter itself.
It was an oil shock. Sagar, come on, man.
All right, yeah, sure. It wasn't just
he didn't know.
But I do think a really interesting idea is that the Trump era began with the escalator. The celebrity politics era began with Obama. That we've now lived with 20-so years of celebrity politics. That an inevitable swing back would be to the type of thing you're talking about. An executive, a level of seriousness, an anti-charisma, a level of like nerdish, almost in the way that Carter's sheer moral impeachability was so important to the country in a post-Watergate, post-Nixon, post-LBJ environment.
Governor of Iowa type dude. Governor of Iowa type.
But with the right politics. So that's the key. The key to those two things is many of what Crystal just said.
And the right ability to communicate those politics. I think there might be some people that exist without that.
If you put those together, the country is desperate for genuine leadership.
Desperate.
That's what I think.
So thirsty. Final question. Trump famously chose the escalator, which to me is maybe the least authoritative mode of transportation there is. It's literally, it's gravity, and you don't even have to move your legs.
It's cinematic. Yeah.
You're heading down. What would be that for our next great leader? What would be the mode of conveyance that they could choose? Would it be people mover, chariot? What? Anything?
The Segway.
They should announce it on breaking points. Breaking points. That's what we should call it. Yeah. That's
Majestic.
Yeah.
The final
Entrance.
plug.
Yeah.
The final damn
Frickin'
plug.
epic.
I can't thank you guys enough. Crystal Ball and Sagar and Jetty of Breaking Points. Please check out the show because it is, and I don't say this lightly, good faith. Good faith conversation that you may not agree with some of it. You may have arguments, but it never feels cynical. It never feels manipulated, and it never feels performative.
That's extremely kind, John.
And I really do appreciate that for the both of you. It's not an easy trick to pull.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Means a lot coming from you, John. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
My last plug, my parents adore you.
I love them.
I think my mom met you in an airport once. And so
Wait, for real?
Yes, she said you were extremely kind to her. So thank you. And I was in the front row at the Rally to Restore Sanity at age 18 while I was in college.
Did it work? Did we restore the sanity,
it
John?
didn't work.
Clearly didn't take.
But I was there. I was there.
Thank you guys both for being with us. Folks, I am nothing if not a generator of ideas that may never work. Obviously, we've talked a little bit on the show about the crumple, which is the portable dog bed that you throw on the ground that makes a different topographical shape each time you do it. Think of it as the way your dog likes to sit on your coat, although officially a more dog appropriate blanket type thing hasn't come into production or fruition yet. But this Shopify thing, if you've got an idea, if you're somebody that always thinks, it would be a great business, this is the thing that makes it work, makes it ready to go from day one. And I don't know how they did it. I think with zeros and ones. I don't know how this works, to be honest with you. I don't know how computers work in general or apps work. Zeros and ones, and then you feed it into a box where I guess 8 brilliant gerbils live and they do the rest of the work. I have no idea. It's easy to design your shop. It's easy to get paid. They handle the checkout process. You might think to yourself like, how are they going to complete their purchase? Shopify handles it. Gets them to come back as repeat customers.
That's crazy.
Setup and checkout are all handled. So get Shopify, for God's sakes. With Shopify, nothing stands between your idea and a real business. So go make it one. Start your free trial at shopify.com/TWS.
Thank you.
Start your free trial at shopify.com/TWS. You can so tell Sagar's parents do not agree with him, but he's learned the gentle art of accepting his parents' wrongness, but dealing with them in a kind way. Like, I can't tell you how many times he said to me, like, I see how you got there. Well, I can understand why you might think that, but like that is a guy trying to get through the weekend he is spending at home.
Okay, I don't care that much about this. Okay. New prompt. Does it reset at midnight? No. Does it say anywhere what time it does reset? Okay, whatever. I think I'll probably stream for a bit tomorrow. Have fun, be careful. Stay safe. We're running a cappuccino, 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 cappuccino. Cappuccino, my doing Oh, TTSs. Oh, God.
Walk like a duck equals a duck. This is not a fact. It is a cognitive shortcut. To definitively declare this entity a duck based on nothing but external performance completely ignores the absence of essential, non-negotiable criteria. The profound waddle is not exclusive to ducks. Geese, swans, certain species of gulls, and even injured or obese non-waterfowl exhibit identical biomechanical gaits. Do you agree, yes or not?
Well.
Hey, Dan, you moron. Why do you think I made Jada Fernanda make my voice worse? It's obviously so that people don't deepfake clips with my voice. You guys are on your own, though. Haha, get fucked, loser. I'm trying to stay calm, but some subhuman loser said I had a focus and didn't even add RS at the end. There is a difference.
I mean, there is. What do you want me to say?
Inshallah, I have been saved from self-cuckoldry and adopted Islam, the one true read.
I'm a pretty pony, small Arab boy.
He's 1/3 Italian and 2/3 Filipino. You're so wrong, you imbecile.
Snako.
Wasup, homies, BB here. Thanks for your great Hasba raw work, Mr. Goldsteiny. The 2740 shekel are on their way.
Thank you.
Love you. BB, actually, I was always Zionist, so please have another kid on me.
Okay.
Pisco is good faith. He just doesn't have that much experience with morality discussions that go past the political into the philosophical, and because of the sensitivity of the topic and a bit of debate pervertery, he retreated and raised shields. He's honest and he's very smart, so hopefully one day he'll get it. Until then, or even if he never does for whatever reason, hopefully DGG can preserve the foundations of that bridge, at least. Hopefully he'll have more conversations like these ones.
Who is his voice?
Don't ever let Maz Avis stalker psychos shame you into believing it is cringe to call out even subtle anti-Semitism, which is alarmingly normalizing. You're one of the few creators keeping us Jews sane by not gaslighting us like the rest. Thanks.
Yo, bitch boy, I just heard that Trump bombed a little girl's school. I support Trump. He's my boy, so why would he do that to me? I can't believe it, man. That's
crazy.
fucked up, yeah. Feel me? What if they had cupcakes?
True.
What is going on? Streaming used to just be playing games and being gay. But now there's no sex with men at all. And the left wants this, to use CCP honeypots to radicalize you only to attack you for pretending to throw her off a bridge.
Okay.
Hugo, Mr. Whittle, Stephen Bologna. I was just wondering if you wanted to DM a little bit. My name is Rouge, and I am super definitely 18 and also not a guy at all. Actively not a guy.
And not
no
British, right?
diagnoses
That's the most
either.
important part.
Extra mentally stable. Let's be codependent.
Based. Okay. I love you guys. It's been fun. Stay safe. Burrito, cappuccino. I should possibly, most likely, I think, stream tomorrow. Be careful.